The events begin in Sutton County. The girl asks the butler if there is any news from Eddie, to which the Countess replies that everything is as it is, and there is not a single message from Mr. Eddie. The girl then wonders where he was taken at such a difficult time for them. The Seventh Empire was on the brink of destruction. Last night, an attack was carried out by unknown persons on the Imperial Palace, and the last emperor of the Seven Hills, named Hildar, was a tyrant for which he was eliminated. The nobles of the empire had to lock their doors awaiting their punishment, and among them was the head of the Satan family, by the name of Rovil Satan. Now the girl is wondering where Eddie disappeared to, but at that very moment someone screams out to her, after which he opens the door to the room and claims that the soldiers who attacked the palace are already there, and they are in ambush. The butler then turns to the Countess with concern, and she understands that now that the emperor has fallen into eternal sleep, those soldiers have decided to head there after the imperial palace. But as the head of the city, she is obliged to protect her family at all costs. At this time, the butler asks where the Countess is heading. But at this time, the girl just goes outside and the bright light from the sun shines into her eyes. However, then the girl only sees her brother, who happily addresses her and asks if he is late. Rovil then asks what Eddie is doing there, to which he replies that he has prepared a gift for her that she will definitely like. After which he hands over the tiara, and the main character is shocked, and also says that it was he who raised the rebellion. A little while later, the girl is already in the theater, and her brother claims that now that the coronation ceremony has taken place, his little sister became a true empress. The main character then turns to Eddie, and she tells him to listen to her, after which the guy asks what it is, and the girl is interested. Why did he decide to do all this? The young man claims that 2 years ago in winter, the sister herself said that if she were an empress, she would have done much better for them. The girl then screams in shock. Is that really why he decided to fulfill her words in reality? The young lady also thinks that the red liquid has already spilled, so she will have to clean it up herself. And alas, the emperor's head cannot be attached back. After which the main character tells Eddie to call the scribes, and the young man asks what the sister is going to do. To which she replies that the empress is obliged to do her job properly, and asks if he wants his sister to become like the previous emperor without a head. The young man then says that the girl is his dear little sister. That's why he worries about her. But besides that, this role suits the little sister much better than that old man. The young lady is silent for a while after this, and then orders the butler to tie this idiot to a chair, to which he agrees, but the guy is only surprised. Thus the Empire of the Seven Hills acquired a new ruler, and this is the first empress of the Seven Hills named Rovil Satan. This event can be considered a step towards a brilliant future. However, a little while later, the girl already with bruises under her eyes is sitting over papers. And her brother at this time is lying on the couch, after which the girl gets up and says that she has had enough, and she also spent 3 whole months cleaning up the empire from the trash of the former ruler, and it seems like she doesn't have enough work. The guy then asks if they didn't remove the extra people, and she's worrying for nothing. But the girl claims that there are 4 dukes in the north, south, west, and east, and she also doesn't like them. And besides, there aren't many people she could trust completely. Eddie then says that there were 3 families who left because of the fight for the throne, and he is the one who is above the previous tyrant, and therefore is always on guard, and let the sister believe that he will not give them a chance to aim for the sister's place. Well, the girl then tells her brother that between is especially forbidden and asks if he has forgotten, but this will only add to the work. After which the young man says that he understands and hands the grape to his sister. He also says that be that as it may, the girl is very talented since she made the head of the inspection group reconsider his views. So let the girl not worry because she will definitely cope. Rovil asks if he is talking about talent and asks where he saw talent because if he really did exist, she would have already been married 3 times. And besides, she asks how to force people when they run away from such an amount of work. And is there not such a person who is smart, attentive, healthy, and will not write a letter of resignation? But then the girl suddenly thinks about resigning and then thinks, why not find that one? Who knows more about this? The young lady then bangs her hand on the table and her brother asks worriedly what happened, after which the main character claims that she needs to get married. The guy then asks if she is talking about marriage and claims that her age still allows her to get married, but there would still be a suitable man. But he must definitely be the strongest on the continent, after which the main character screams that no way. She also tells Eddie to listen and states that she needs someone who can listen carefully, and so that he was reliable and, most importantly, useful, and this is something like a butler, after which the young man says that he understood and he will also find the one who will suit his busy sister. The girl is then a little surprised and asks who he is going to look for there. She also understands that she is somehow uneasy. Eddie Sutton is the girl's brother. Their father went into eternal sleep when the boy was still very young, and then when the young lady was 14, their mother, who was carrying the whole family on her own, followed him. As children, they had to focus on maintaining the Sutton lineage even when Eddie was still a baby. The girl had no time for him, and because of this, he had to leave his father's house for 6 whole years. Roviel fell into eternal sleep at the age of 27, and Eddie's departure became her greatest regret from her past life, and after that plunge into eternal sleep, she had a chance to fix everything when she was 14. The first thing the girl did was run to Edwin, and she hugged him tightly. In gratitude for her sincerity, the guy grew up very smart, and also a healthy guy, and even achieved what people called him a genius of fencing. Suddenly, rumors began to spread about him that he was the notorious madman from Philand. The girl now understands that she raised him, allowing him to do whatever he wanted. At this time, someone turns to Her Highness, and she replies that she is fine. She also asks if this is the full list of participants, to which Kyle replies that yes, and there are all 178 people. Roviel realizes that it is already encouraging that so many candidates have gathered. The girl also looks at the name of Dalton Pagos and asks if the duchy from the east has also decided to take part in the tournament, but they claim that ascending to the throne without the consent of the 4th Duke is illegal, and the young lady says that maybe they are up to something bad. Roviel also understands that all 4 duchies of their empire participated in this battle, and it is unpleasant for her to admit that she is the empress, and also if the dukes unite their forces and gather an army, it will be very disadvantageous for her, who still lacks a firm position. After which the girl turns to Kyle and tells him to tell her about the participants from the duchies. The guy then talks about the first one and claims that he is recognized as the strongest knight in the East, and he is also 23 years old, and he is also prophesied to become a duke, and he is known for his leadership, but a little impatient. The girl then tells him to name the next one, and the guy tells him about another duke who demonstrated excellent ball skills at the Imperial Academy. But the girl claims that these are not suitable, and he asks if there is anyone who has experience in managing an estate, or maybe one of the candidates is excellent in economics or politics, and an even better option would be that they know how to resolve conflicts within the empire. Kyle claims that basically there are only those who artificially control the ball, and the young lady is interested in why such people are there. They participate in something like this, to which he replies that they will have to deal with Sir Edwin. Therefore, he mainly chose candidates with excellent sword skills. The girl is surprised by this, and she understands that this brother has decided to ruin all her plans, but she needs a skilled man, not some fencer. Kyle claims that this is still a small part, and in the end, there is still the Duke of the North, and everyone believes that he will reach the final and fight Sir Eddie. This is Duke de Hard from the Northern Duchy. Everyone is afraid of this guy because he is a monster from the north. However, the girl understands that this is the only person she knows from a past life, and in addition, he is absolutely harmless. And also, if he really was like that, then his duchy would have completely different motives. And besides, if she marries one duke, it will delay the plans of other dukes from the continent for some time, and she will never allow Eddie to ruin such a capable candidate. After which the young lady rises, and the servant asks if Her Highness has decided to go somewhere, but the young lady, only with a smile on her face, states that she is going to tear off someone's legs. A little while later, she already tells the guy to raise his hands higher. The young man then asks his sister if he is worse than these candidates. And does she really want to see a weakling next to her? The girl only gets angry after that. Well, she calms down and says that what's done is done, and first of all, she already said that she will decide for herself who she will get engaged to and who she won't. Over the course of a year, the girl will observe whether he is suitable for this role or not, so she does not allow Eddie to interfere in this matter. The guy then says that there shouldn't be a person weaker than him next to his sister, but she shouldn't worry because he'll deal with this guy if he offends her. The girl then understands that she needs to be on guard, and a little while later someone enters the room and asks Her Highness if she called. It turns out to be Cecile Bright, who is the commander of the Empire's Internal Affairs Inspection Team. The main character, with a smile on her face, tells Cecile to pass by and asks how she is doing these days. But the girl only asks what this lady is talking about because she can't even remember the last time she returned home. And he wonders if there will be any order today since she called her. The main character replies that she knows that the girl is very busy, so she apologizes for disturbing her. But he wonders if she could look after Eddie these days, that is, she is simply afraid to let things slide. The blonde claims that she understands and tried to introduce one of the knights to the socialist revolutionary Edwin, but it all ended unsuccessfully. However, she also asks if Her Majesty is sure that her relationship with Sir Edwin is the same as before. The girl then asks what she is talking about and claims that she thinks that it will be quite difficult to find a brother and sister as close as them in their empire. However, the girl claims that Edwin secretly crossed the border last month. It turns out that he brought the Manglada elixir with him. Known as the special medicine of the Grime Kingdom, it means it's likely that he mixed it with the lady's food. And it also doesn't matter whether the dose of the potion was small or not, but it is unknown for what purposes he decided to do this, and moreover in secret from her. The young lady then just smiles and says that in that case, Cecile has nothing to worry about since this is Edwin's long-standing hobby, along with running away. And after their parents fell into eternal sleep, he became obsessed with her health. The guy was 16 when he ran away and ended up bringing her some medicine from the south and asking her to eat it. The girl was furious, so she told him not to bring it, and he probably changed his method by putting it in her food. And her brother is such a person, so Cecile, I need to worry about this because thanks to him she is healthy. The blonde then says that if a lady says so, then good. As for Sir Edwin, she will do everything in her power, and regarding the matter of the 4 dukes, she will send a report as soon as she receives new information. Roviel agrees. But as soon as the door closes, the young lady falls on the sofa. She also understands that she must find a husband as soon as possible to whom she can delegate some of the responsibilities. Otherwise, she will fall into eternal sleep from overwork already in this life. A little while later, the girl already approaches the candidates. Then he sits on his throne and tells them to get up off their knees. Roviel looks at the 2 of them, and he understands that these are the heirs of the Pagos and Delma families, and that one is also there who is called the Monster of the North, that is Haven de Hard. The girl at this time announces that from this moment the tournament is declared open. Well, she still understands that she first met the Monster of the North when winter was harsher than ever. On the way home, 14 years ago, there was a little girl on whose fragile shoulders the responsibilities of the head of the family fell apart, who was mocked, ignored, and constantly tried to be set up. Once upon a time, she had already been deceived, and there were even times when she had to sell her things and everyone turned away from her. So her last hope was a trip to the north. Now the young lady realizes that the guy has the same rough facial features as he did then. And also, this is a young man of her age from the far north Haven Diracht, and now that she thinks about it, she understands that the decision to go north was right, and the guy took pity on her because she trembled before him. Then, well, the young lady now thinks the same about him. They can talk about as a monster of the north. After all, he was Satan's benefactor. At this point, Eddie turns to his sister and says that the action is beginning. And now it is the turn of the duel of the gentleman from the south, that is Sir Japhet Delmoy. He does not turn to his brother, and he asks if he thinks that Delmoy will win, to which he asks in response if she herself doesn't see, and also if her sister's eyes are really for beauty. The girl then says that it has been a long time since she packed his lunches and watched his fencing training. And a little while later, someone already screams that their winner is Duke Delmoy. The girl then says that she turned out to be right. The guy replies that yes, and the next exit is Sir Pagos. The main character asks if this is true and wonders when the final will be, to which her brother replies that it will be in a week. Roviel understands that the meeting should take place soon, but because of this, everything could be delayed. And the young lady understands that anyone will do so, let them quickly give her a worker. At this time, they also hear a scream from the arena, and when the girl looks there, she sees the Duke pointing his sword at his opponent, after which he lifts him up and tells this guy to go into eternal sleep. At this time, the main character just gets up from her seat and turns to Eddie. The young man then jumps down into the arena and says that he understands his sister. He then skillfully repels the Duke's attack, and his sword flies away, but the guy then screams that he objects and asks how they dare to desecrate the sacred tradition. And also, Sir Satan has no right to interfere during the tournament. The main character then asks if he really says that she is sacred, and if he calls it a sacred tone, he will incur the wrath of God, because anyone who dares to plunge his opponent into eternal sleep will be considered a criminal. The young man only gets angry after this and says that Her Majesty is establishing new rules already during the event. But this is unfair, but the girl replies that the essence of this tournament is to choose her future husband. Then what is the problem if she sets the rules herself? And she also doesn't think that this duel is worth her attention. After which she turns to Eddie and claims that he is now monitoring the progress of the tournament, to which the guy agrees. And the blonde just gets angry. Roviel understands that she thought that she got rid of such trash, but it turned out the opposite, and on that day, after the tournament began, she had a meeting. Well, she had no idea that after ascending to the throne, she would have to face some incredible shit. In the north, together with the Seven Frosts, the Gripton Empire is held back. Next to them is the Zilton Empire, a friendly country of the Seven Frosts. However, trade disagreements arose between Zilton and the Empire, and the reason for this, the difference between the Seven Hills gold coins cast from 12 grams of gold and the Zilton gold coins cast from 14 grams of gold, the amount of money that the Emperor's aunt pocketed for herself was 32,000 gold. Zilton, who had tolerated the friendship with the Seven Hills, formally protested. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which was on the verge of bankruptcy, declared that it had no means of compensating the demands of the Empire. Well, now the girl just says for the guy to shut up. The man then apologizes and asks what Her Highness just said, and the girl tells him not to worry about it and just follow the soldiers because nothing else is required of him. But the guy then tells Her Majesty that she did say that she would cut open his stomach. To which the girl replies that his hearing is most likely bad, and he understands everything perfectly well, so let them quickly take him out and cut it more beautifully. After which this man asks Her Majesty to pardon him, and he is very sorry. Other aristocrats also say that for the one who worked so hard for the good of the empire for so many years, this is too harsh a punishment. The young lady then asks if this punishment is too harsh, and also states that she is ashamed to see the result of 12 years of this man's incompetence, after which she asks what is wrong with the flow of life, and when something happens they cannot find a solution, after which she asks if they are able to take responsibility and solve the problem with dignity. Roviel also asks why the Empire's taxes should cover their mistakes, and if he tells her the truth now, she won't harm him. After which the girl asks if he really didn't know that Marcos and his aunt were squandering money. A few days later, the former foreign minister. He was executed for accepting bribes. The pursuit of wealth of the family of the former emperor came to an end, and the girl, having formed an emergency fund, compensated for the damage to the Zilton Empire. The tournament was approaching its start at this time, and a little while later the girl was already sighing. At this time her brother also runs up to her and says that sister looks tired, but he was told that today she hardly touched her soup, and he wonders if this is true. Roviel replies that she is just a little tired, and asks if he really added something to the soup again, since it certainly doesn't taste very good. But Eddie says that it is better for his sister not to know, and the girl claims that she repeats it again. That his sister doesn't need medicine but a smart husband. The guy says that if that's all it is, there is no need to worry about the connection Duke de Hard will win. The main character then asks what he is talking about, and the tournament is not over yet. Well, the guy replies that the Duke is the strongest in the north and asks if that's true, after which they enter the battlefield and the young lady sits on the throne. And he also sees that there is a battle going on between Haven de Hard and another Duke who was indignant last time. These two are just crossing their swords, but then one of them simply cracks. And the blonde looks on in shock as a piece of his sword flies away, after which Haven de Hard is declared the winner. The main character only smiles at this. The guy at this time approaches Her Majesty and claims that he, Haven de Hard from the Northern Lands, dedicates his victory to Her Majesty. The girl then extends her hand to the guy and says that she gladly accepts it. Haven kisses the young lady's hand, and she realizes that she finally has a permanent employee, which will remain with her until death. The guy then turns to Her Majesty once more, and the girl then asks, "What is it?" and once again congratulates him on winning the tournament. Well, the young man then only asks for forgiveness and states that there is one thing he would like to know from her. The girl then asks what the Duke is asking. Is her little brother crazy? Roviel wonders if Eddie did something to the Duke, and he replies that, in general, if he had not taken part in the tournament, he would have gone straight to the Gripto Empire and caused a stir there, and if he had plunged one or two commanders into eternal sleep, then a war would have begun. The main character is then surprised and also understands that if the Gripton Empire begins an invasion, the Northern Duchy of de Hard will be the first to be hit, because they are located very close to each other's border, and Eddie threatened the Duke to take part in the tournament. She also realizes that de Hard is a good person, after which she claims that since her brother threatened him and forced him to participate in the war, then he has the right to refuse and the Duke can return if he doesn't like all this. But the guy then tells Her Majesty that if you think about it now, it seems to him that it's not a bad idea to hit them, after which the main character is surprised and the Duke of the North says that in fact this will be a war with the Gripton Empire and asks if he is talking about it. The guy also claims that since he became the winner of the tournament, Her Majesty will not just sit idly by when his hometown is in danger. Roviel realizes that it smells like the doings of a crazy idiot, after which she also says that it is probably worth considering not only him, but the guy then takes the lady's hand in his and asks why, after which he also whispers in her ear that he already belongs to her. The girl is only surprised by this, after which he says that no, and she must decide for herself who will ultimately be the winner. So he's not the only contender for victory. The guy then asks, really? She has not yet decided to which the girl replies that yes, and they claim that they plan to consider all candidates during the coming year, and if this does not suit him, then he can return to his home in the north immediately. But the Duke turns to Her Majesty and asks if she doesn't like him. Roviel understands that he is certainly a valuable asset and says that it is not a matter of whether she likes him or not, but Haven then says that he has taken a fancy to the Lady Roviel, thinks that if he shows himself well during this year, well, she will write him down as a potential suitor, but it is better for him not to know about it. After which the girl just grabs the guy by the chin and claims that she hopes they heard and understood each other. Haven places the lady's hand on his cheek and claims that he will never let her down. A little while later, the Empress is already sitting at her business and understands that since the tournament is over, she can already load them with new work. At the same moment, someone else knocks on the door, and the girl tells this man to come in, after which the man turns to Her Majesty and claims that there are those who have asked for her audience. The young lady wonders who it is. After which, the butler brings Pagos Dalton from the east and Japhet Delmoy from the south into the room. One of the guys claims that they have arrived with a message from the southeast for Her Majesty. Roviel understands that she suspected that something like this could happen, but for both duchies to unite, she doesn't even understand what it is for. After which, the blonde man turns to Her Majesty and claims that he, Pagos Dalton, wants to be chosen as the finalist of the national tournament, and if she chooses him as the winner, then the Eastern and Southern Duchy will remain loyal to the Satan family. The girl then says that she doesn't like it and she doesn't accept it, and besides, didn't they lose to Duke de Hard during the competition? The young man only gets angry after this and asks whether Her Majesty understands what she is saying or does not understand what their proposal means. Roviel understands that he is sending such a child as a messenger. They must consider themselves superior to her, after which the girl turns to him and claims that it is not she, but he does not realize the accent is interpreting, and the young lady wonders if he will swear an oath, probably only if she marries him. After all, if that's the case, then that only means that if she doesn't marry him, he will be against her. But in that case, she will be forced to cut off their heads and declare them traitors. Another guy approaches Her Majesty and claims that she is wrong because both their families did not conspire to commit treason. However, as the founders of the Seven Hills, they would like to offer her the power to strengthen their position in the current situation. He also says that Her Majesty should make the Southeast her stronghold, and they will take it as an honor to become Her Majesty's right hand. The main character realizes that this guy is good at persuasion, after which the girl turns to Pagos Dalton and asks him to tell his father that let his will be more sincere. And besides, let him know that the Duke's second son is not to her taste, which makes the guy embarrassed. And the Empress at this time turns to another young man and asks him to stay a little longer because she would like to clarify something. When Pagos leaves, the girl turns to him, and he asks what the Southern Duchy will get when she marries Pagos, and he can think as much as he wants. But the guy then wonders if it is not enough that this guy is a loyal subject of Her Majesty. Well, after this, the girl just laughs and claims that she thought they would offer her to choose one of them since they came together, but that is not the case. And earlier he was the same candidate, but now he turned out to be just a bridesmaid, and is it really just to rejoice at Pagos's achievements? The guy is silent for a while after this, and then claims that he will convey the will of Her Majesty to her father. Having sent these back to the South and East, Roviel spent the rest of the day doing paperwork, and then it was time to begin the banquet at which the final winner of the national tournament will be announced. A little while later, someone already reports that Her Imperial Majesty has arrived. When the music begins to play, one of the dukes extends his hand to Her Majesty, and he asks if she will give him a share, after which the girl smiles and dances with him. While dancing, she wonders if this guy thinks she's beautiful. Then she whispers to Haven to come to her office tomorrow morning. The guy then asks, don't they usually say come to my room tonight? But the Empress tells him not to talk nonsense. The next morning, the guy already comes to the estate, and the girl introduces him to her first secretary. The young man then asks if this means that this best secretary was under Her Majesty's control all this time, and it turns out that now, and in the future, they will cross paths more often. But the main character turns to Haven, and she says that he shouldn't scare this guy, and she won't repeat it twice, after which the Duke states that he will take this into account, and the main character hands over several documents and also states that first let him look at these documents and ask whether the guy would approve of them or reject them if he were in her place. The guy then looks through the documents, and when he's finished, he hands them back and claims that he would have rejected them for 3 reasons. The girl then asks what these reasons are, and the Duke replies that firstly, it is not even worth considering. After all, this tax, which is under consideration, will either be liquidated or reduced due to the increasing number of cases of citizen discontent, and in his opinion, it should be reduced. Secondly, although it seems reasonable, in fact, it is complete nonsense because not long ago the Yale lands were restored. So many families began to migrate there, but miraculously there are already starving people there, and it would be nice to find out what is going on there because it is either someone's deception or something more global. The girl then asks what the third reason is, and the Duke replies that, first of all, it is necessary to abandon the development of mineral mines in the Del Moy Mountains, and to find out the relationship between 2 interested territories that want to make a border out of these mountains. But if they don't manage to do this, then everything could end in a battle for territory. After which, the main character understands that here he is, and all 3 named problems are what she overlooked, and even the solutions outlined by Haven were suitable for her. Therefore now, whatever this eccentric said does not matter. And the girl asks if the guy would like to have a cup of tea with her. A little while later, they are already sitting together. And the Empress claims that she thinks the engagement can be arranged as early as next week. Well, the Duke claims that at yesterday's banquet, she hinted that there was no need to rush into this. The young lady claims that she has changed her mind and asks if he doesn't like it, to which the guy replies that he absolutely won't, and that he will arrange it for her even tomorrow. He also says that the lady looks pretty, and the girl replies that it's understandable. After all, how can she be unhappy when the only useful man will help her? The guy then asks if he is the only one, and the girl replies that she is thinking about it. About the fact that after marriage it is worth getting yourself a lover, the guy is surprised by this, after which he clenches his hands, and jumping up from the sofa he states that he does not intend to look at it. As she shares her love with someone else, the young lady then replies that she thinks he got it all wrong. After all, it is important for her to have as many people on her side as possible, while the Duke claims that if the lady prefers to marry someone else, That will be a cruel reprisal. The main character is a little surprised by this, and also claims that she is talking about wanting to add someone to the harem. However, the young man with gray hair covers Her Majesty and claims that he will protect her. And also, if the 4 families cross the border, he promises that he will bring her their heads. If Gripton encroaches on their border, he will immediately send his troops there and will not allow any threat to disturb it. The main character is only surprised by this, after which she wonders if this is really what he wants to say. That he wants to unite the continent. The guy replies that if Her Majesty Togo wishes, he will do it right away. Well, the main character then turns to the young man and tells him to calm down and not to fool around like Eddie, and this is an order to which the young man agrees, and the girl understands that if these two become friends, the effect is buffed. The young lady then places her hand on the boy's hand and addresses him once again, and also states that if he promises her something, she will reconsider his decision about creating a harem, after which she tells him to promise that he will always be on her side and will always support her, and also that he will be next to her until the immersion into eternal sleep separates them. After which the guy swears his life before Her Majesty, and the main character rejoices at this. A little while later, she is already drinking her tea and realizes that choosing Haven was a great decision, and she hasn't felt this good in a long time. And if he really has such talent, then she should organize an engagement as soon as possible and force them to sign a lifelong contract with her. But when the girl puts the cake in her mouth, she immediately feels an unpleasant taste and screams. The young lady understands that if you don't take into account the fact that Eddie mixed something in again, but the food tastes too bitter. And as soon as she sees this guy, she will say everything, even if he doesn't like it. At this time, someone enters the room and tells Her Majesty that the commander of the knights has arrived. The main character asks if this is Cecile, and then orders that she be let in. And when the blonde comes in, the young lady asks if there is any news. The knight commander only apologizes for disturbing her, but claims that she has urgent news. The main character asks what happened, and the girl replies that it happened just recently. In Finland, there was a mass kidnapping, and they reported that 7 people were kidnapped from the nearest cities of the empire. The missing persons are celebrities from all walks of life. The young lady wonders who exactly, and the commander of the knights lists that this is a professor of legal sciences from the academy, the 3rd daughter of Count Gideon, the famous architect, 75-year-old historian Timolia, but the main character then raises her hand and tells Cecile to wait. And she already told her, and that is enough, after which she asks, what is the motive for this? The commander of the knights replies that they already have testimony from a witness who saw the abduction of the 4th victim. And he said that this kidnapper said that Her Majesty wanted to see him. The main character then puts her hands on her head and realizes that it is none other than Eddie. The blonde claims that the kidnapped people are now in Sutin County, and everything is fine because they will let them go. And how can I say it? It's all about rumors that Her Majesty intends to create her own harem. After this, the main character thinks about the harem and understands that Haven said that he would not tolerate such a thing. Then she thinks where these rumors come from. And moreover, she asks where Edwin is now. The knight's commander replies that he is at the Palace Stadium. And a little while later, the girl is already approaching there. The guy with a smile on his face turns to his little sister, and he asks if she has come to see him. The young lady then turns to Eddie and asks if he wants to tell her anything. The guy then asks what she's talking about and why she's angry, and the girl replies that she found out that he kidnapped people and locked them in their mansion. The young man replies that he did not kidnap them but merely offered them to work for the royal family. Well, the young lady tells her brother that dragging people somewhere without their consent is kidnapping, and besides not letting them go home is illegal deprivation of liberty. Well, the young man claims that then they will be faithful to her until the end of time, and if they wanted to betray, they would pay with their lives. After all, how else would they freeze dangerous people who can stab them in the back? The young lady remains silent after this, and then gives her brother a flick, and also tells him to wake up already. She also asks how many times she asked him not to do such stupid things, after which he tells the guy to make an appointment with them and apologize properly. The young man then wonders if he should first ask, and then ask to go with him, to which the girl replies that it is possible anyway, but let him just not kidnap anyone. The girl also understands that she had planned to hire many more secretaries and civil servants anyway. And also, the system needs to be reorganized to maintain stability. Then the girl tells the guy that they can go and he will see how normal people do it. And when they head there, the girl realizes that she is interested in whether any of the people that Eddie brought would want to work for her. But if you don't follow Haven's will, then with his talent, you can't avoid mass reprisals. At this time, the girl also sees the Duke and wonders if he was heading towards her, and it doesn't matter how he feels about this issue. Well, the guy at this time simply turns to Her Majesty and asks if she really likes the jealous type of guys. Roviel then wonders what hit him in the head again, this little guy. A little while later, they are already sitting together, and the girl claims that it is just a misunderstanding. After all, she has no intention of causing grief, and these are just ridiculous rumors. After which the young man asks if he really shouldn't worry, to which the girl replies that of course since he's her only one. And then the guy says that, for him too, Her Majesty is his only one. The girl then thinks that this is wonderful and touches a strand of the Duke's hair, after which he leans against her hand and asks Her Majesty what is it. The girl then thinks what an alluring look he has. Even the lady approaches the Duke and kisses him. When the guy moves away, she asks Her Majesty for forgiveness for his dry lips, and the main character continues to stare at him, and the guy asks if he was too hasty. At this time, the girl thinks that they are already engaged after all, and the engagement is the first step to marriage. And it is customary for married people to share one bed, and among other things, she promised Haven that there would be no harem. And now the young lady thinks that if he becomes the only man she will kiss for the rest of her days. At this time, the guy asks Her Majesty if he ruined her mood. Well, the girl at this time thinks that even if she kisses him until the end of her days, she will only be for it. After which the girl approaches Haven again and calls him by name, but at that very moment someone knocks on the door. And the main character tells this man to come in and also moves away from the Duke, after which the butler comes in and apologizes for distracting him, but claims that he will quickly bring him up to speed since a notification has arrived from the Delmoy house with a marriage proposal. The Duke heard this and turned to Her Majesty and asked her to call the commander of the knights. Since the lands of Delmoy will be wiped off the face of the earth, the girl then claims that she told him to avoid Eddie. The young man also apologizes to Her Majesty, but claims that with all due respect to her, he has the right as a duke to deal with them. Roviel claims that if he decides to start a war with them, he can forget about it. The guy is a little surprised by this, and the young lady claims that she did say that he is the only one she has, which makes the Duke embarrassed. After which, the young lady also asks if he can refuse this offer because she has everything necessary to exterminate Delma. The girl understands that apparently this is how their moment with the provocation was reflected. After receiving a refusal when they returned home, the girl received a report from Cecile about the progress in the Southwest. Since they hadn't yet married Haven and united the North and Fiend, they must have thought that now was the time. And the girl is absolutely sure that Skyer will not get into trouble. Therefore, the option of uniting Pagos and Delmoy remains, which will certainly lead to a civil war. In the current situation, these two parties will be on opposite sides of the barricades, and this is not bad news. But since Delmoy himself decided to propose to her, this chance should definitely not be missed. The girl turns to the Duke and tells him not to worry because she already has bait for them. Haven replies that, to tell the truth, he still wonders what such moments are happening in her head. But the girl then asks if he thinks it would be better to remove the Pagos, and the guy then claims that Her Majesty is much more interesting than he could have suspected. However, then he also notices that the girl is shaking, after which he immediately takes off his jacket, and he puts it on the lady and also claims that he thought here that suddenly she might be cold. And her hands are frozen. The girl then replies that the cold goes away when he takes care of her. And also, everything is fine with her, so the guy can go after which he bows and states that he will wait for the meeting. A little while later, the princess turns to Count Delmoy and asks if he was not the bridesmaid, saying that he will be happy for his neighbors. Well, the young man claims that no matter how joyful the motive, he does not think that Her Majesty will be happy about it, even if it were a family member. Roviel then asks the Count if he thinks that if he makes her his husband, he will be able to receive more privileges than he currently has. The guy is surprised, and also claims that only his admiration for the lady prompted him to make such an offer. The girl then thinks what a hypocrite he is. And she asks what to do because Duke de Hard is very jealous and she values his feelings very much. And besides, the news will quickly reach the east, and the girl asks if he thinks Pagos will like this. And also, isn't he afraid of the consequences? The guy answers that even if there will be corresponding consequences, Delmoy is not related to Pagos, after which the main character smiles and says that it is true. After all, Delmoy has been suffering for about 10 years now, and enough time has passed since the invasion of Missus, and also the assistance provided to them by the Duchy of Pagos. Their observation of the behavior of the Pagos lands is still ongoing. The 4 duchies of the 7 hills were entrusted with guarding the empire's borders because their military might was superior even without support from the empire itself. But the borders of the Delmoy lands in the south of the empire were destroyed due to the machinations of Missus. In difficult times for the south, the east came to the rescue, that is Duke Pagos. The help provided to the situation of a grave crisis changed the attitude of the 2 duchies. But good is quickly forgotten, and the south wished to restore its honor and position. Now the guy claims that Pagosa is not Delma's equal. The girl then asks what he's talking about. But he claims that if we recall just recently, high-quality ore deposits were discovered on the lands of the Viscounty of Hilda. However, this area turned out to be in eastern Alkis. The source of the ore is on the border of Mount Delpin. The aristocracy of the east and south argued over who should rightfully own the spring. Hildel asked for help from Delmoy and Alkis from Pagos, but the result was the same. After all, the south is in debt to the east, and the girl claims that 10 years have already flown by and the situation has changed. Now neither the north nor Fyland will tolerate Delma's humiliation. The girl also understands that if Pagos decides to settle this incident, then the empire will intervene with the cause for world peace. It is not worth talking about the dissatisfied cries of the aristocracy of the South reaching incredible limits. And if in this way it will be possible to take control of Delma by pacifying the ardor of the Pagos, who is she in the business? At this time, the guy claims that like last time, he will quote her words and then leaves. The main character understands that she has done everything in her power, and now the choice is up to Delma. But suddenly her body stops obeying her and the girl sits down on the floor. One of the servants asks if Her Majesty is really ill and orders them to bring a doctor as soon as possible. But the young lady feels even worse, after which he closes his eyes. The girl understands that she spent her first life alone. However, she tried not to take it to heart until one day she heard it, that she is an ice queen because of whom a small child suffers. And she has no idea how she came back to life, but she decided for herself that in this life everything will be different. Next to her is her brother, who laughs even when she hasn't said anything funny, and her caring husband, who helps her with everything. Even though Eddie continues his hobby of putting potions in food, well, she'd rather eat it and live as long as she can. At this time, the girl opens her eyes and hears someone saying that he forbids her and will not allow her to fall into eternal sleep. The guy also begs her to open her eyes and not repeat past mistakes. The main character then only strokes her brother's head. The guy is surprised and asks if sister has come to her senses, but she can't just fall into eternal sleep like that. Roviel asks what he is talking about and why she should do this, after which she also looks away, and she sees a worried Duke there. The girl asks how long she had been lying in bed, to which the guy replies that it had been about an hour, after which the girl asks what the doctor said, and the Duke replies that she must have been poisoned by something. At this time, the doctor also addresses the young lady. He also asks how she is feeling, and if there is even minor pain, he asks her to let him know. The girl claims that she has nausea and chills, and the doctor asks if that is all, to which the young lady notes that she still has a lung, and it is hard to breathe, and she asks if he knows what kind of poison it is. The man replies that, although the symptoms are not clear, they indicate the effects of the poison Juriel. At this time, the Duke asks if there is an antidote, but the doctor replies that there is none. The young lady's brother at this time grabs the doctor and screams whether he says that he is not there after all. If so, then hands to feet and let him go create it. But the man claims that this is not the case. After all, there is simply no need for an antidote. Her Majesty will recover without it. And he himself is not aware, however, Her Majesty's body itself resists the effects of the poison, and it is very dangerous since its antidote has not yet been created. At this time, the Duke wonders if she is really resisting on her own, and the main character says that they were worried, but it is not so easy to put her into eternal sleep. The doctor at this time claims that it is not true, and the poison is strong enough that after getting inside, it can eliminate the poor fellow in a couple of hours. The young lady's brother at this time talks about the protective Gripton and claims that he has been giving this drug to his sister for 3 years. The medicine helps to maintain the immune system normally against toxins. The girl at this time asks what her brother stuffed her with, and the doctor at this time says that it is good. And then he will go to create medicines based on Gripton. The girl also says that it is good that I did not have the desired effect on the body. But that cake was very bitter. Her brother at this time asks if she is talking about the cake. But he claims that he asked the servants not to add anything to the cake. The young lady then claims to Eddie only one thing. And although she was against mixing it today, it saved her life, so she thinks that this topic can be closed. She also has a meeting scheduled for today, so she asks to call the secretary, and the Duke at this time approaches Her Majesty and asks what she is talking about. After all, she had just woken up just a couple of minutes ago, having almost fallen into eternal sleep. And now she just needs to rest. But the girl says that she is fine. Her brother tells his sister to keep quiet. However, the young lady claims that the matter is urgent because everything needs to be decided today. Then the Duke claims that he will take care of everything and will report the rest to her personally and asks her to just lie down. Eddie claims that Haven is right, and he became her husband to me to drive a fool, and the girl let be more careful before eating until he catches this rat. After which the Duke says what exactly, and if help is needed, then let her just whistle. After which they are about to leave, but Roviel turns to his brother and tells him to wait. After which he claims that when she first opened her eyes, didn't he say, "Don't repeat it?" And the girl asks what it was for, after which the young man is silent for a while. Well, then he hugs his little sister and asks if her hearing was damaged because of the illness, and maybe he should call the doctor again. The main character then thinks if she misheard, after which she says that it is not necessary and that she imagined something similar in her sleep. But the guy tells her not to be silent if something hurts, and to tell him, to which the girl agrees. Well, he says that the first thing he should do is catch the criminal, and the guy claims that he will deal with it. And when he leaves, the girl closes her eyes and understands that there will be a big commotion in the palace. A little while later, she opens her eyes and feels someone's hand on her head, after which she realizes that it is Haven, and the guy turns to Her Majesty with concern. And she claims that she still has a fever, but the girl is only interested in how the meeting went, to which the guy replies that it seems like someone needs a cure for workaholism. The girl claims that the position of the 7 hills is still unstable, and it is not time to be a lazy empress. The Duke asks if she wants to be lazy, to which the girl replies that of course she doesn't like an idle life. The young man then says that in that case he will do his best to make her dream come true. Then he also hands over the medicine and claims that it was prepared by the court physician. It doesn't taste very good, so he advises drinking it all at once. The young lady then does so. Then the Duke hands her a candy and says that the medicine is so bitter, and she doesn't even wince, to which the girl replies that she is used to the bitter taste and now wants to see the report, after which the guy hands over the papers and claims that the information about the Brandel River is on the last page. The girl claims that in fact this river is quite shallow, but often floods, and the previous emperor's ignoring of this problem forces them to spend a lot of money on maintenance. The guy claims that the workers asked to reduce the scale of the project, but the girl claims that this will not happen. The Duke says it's not about money, but people are asking how they can get it done on time, and he tells them there won't be a shortage of labor so they can start making a work plan. The main character asks what made him say that, to which he replies, didn't she plan to send troops there under the pretext of building a dam? After which the young lady smiles and understands that she is interested in building a dam on the Brandel River, and there are 2 reasons for this. Of course, this includes putting the river in order. Also, this is an opportunity to place their army between southern Delmoy and eastern Pagos. It took Haven 1 meeting to understand that she wants to pit Hildel and Alcus against each other, after which the girl says that she is pleased to deal with an intelligent partner, and the guy replies that he is glad to hear it. Then the girl is silent for a while, but after that she turns to the Duke and asks, was that time when he was invited to participate in the tournament the first time he met Eddie? The guy tells Her Majesty that this is true, and the girl asks if they have spoken again since then. To which the young man replies that no, because Her Majesty ordered not to meet him alone. The girl claims that this is strange, and it seems that Eddie has been following him for a long time. The guy is a little surprised and asks if this is really true. The young lady replies that yes, otherwise she cannot explain why he chose him, or whether they simply have similar tastes. After which the young lady claims that she really likes the Duke, and her brother does too. To which the guy replies that he doesn't know whether to be happy or trembling with fear at this news, but the young lady claims that she is speaking sincerely, and also asks if he says that he is not happy, and if the reason is her brother Haven claims that he thinks the guy is a good brother to Her Majesty. It is true that sometimes it is difficult for him to understand the reason for his strong attachment to her. The young lady claims that this guy has always been like this because he is a child of a thirsty love, after which the Duke asks him to ask, but claims that, in his opinion, the boys were brought up with excessive affection, and now he looks like a bull that is not able to decide anything on his own. Well, the main character understands that Edwin in his past life was completely different from what he is now. He who did not see the love of his parents grew up in the hands of servants, and his busy, attentive sister did not even look at him. The girl clearly remembers only a few moments from her past life. For example, the day she became a countess. The young lady was tired of listening to either the statement or the mockery of the imperial family, which was passed off as congratulations, and thought only about returning to her room as quickly as possible and lying down on the bed. Roville returned home, and Edwin was sitting on the stairs with a stuffed rabbit that she played with as a child. It was late at night and he didn't sleep, probably to congratulate her, but the girl snapped at the guy, and she asked him why he couldn't sleep, after which he went to his room. Then the young lady hated Eddie because, as the youngest in the family, he was free from any responsibility. And the girl regretted this act until she fell into eternal sleep, but having received a second chance that day, she hugged Eddie with all her might and sincerely thanked him. And now the young lady claims that her brother is funny and just let the Duke try to get used to it. The guy then asks if this is an order and claims that he would never have thought that Her Majesty is such a person. The girl then asks what kind of person she is, to which the guy replies that they are strange, and in fact even before the Count visited him, he wanted to meet the lady, although he didn't think that their meeting would take place at that tournament. The main character then asks why, and the guy replies that he was interested in who did it. What he wanted to do, Roville then asks if Haven wants the imperial throne. And she also thinks that no matter how much she likes him, she can't let him be near her if he wants to take her place. And who else but she knows what a person is capable of for the sake of power, after which the young lady only asks him in her thoughts to say no. The guy then smiles and says that he just wanted to get rid of the former emperor. He is also not interested in the throne itself, and at one time he decided to get rid of the emperor before fighting Gripton, but the emperor changed. In these few months of new management, the empire had completely changed, and so he wanted to see what an outstanding person could do this. The young lady then claims that he must be disappointed, but the boy replies that he is not, and finds it difficult to imagine a person deserving this throne more than her. The main character is a little surprised by this and then says, "Thank God." She was already thinking about leaving the throne and starting to fight against her husband. But the guy says that she has nothing to worry about. And the young lady claims that she believes him, after which the young man is silent for a while but then asks why. She trusts him so easily because he entered the palace and soon the girl could die from poison, after which he asks how Her Majesty can trust him after this, and also asks if she knows what medicine he just gave her, and asks why she calmly drank something unknown. Roville claims that she drank the medicine he gave her because she knows it is an antidote, and the girl wonders if she is mistaken, but the Duke notes that yes, and this is an antidote. Then the young lady asks why he is telling her all this, and then claims that he trusts Haven. The girl also understands that she feels guilty for the way he reacts, and to be honest, it's not that she believes in the Duke, but she simply trusts her brother's choice because he could not allow anyone who could harm her to be near her. At this time, the Duke once again turns to Her Majesty and says that he likes her too. The main character claims that this is good, and the guy with a smile on his face says that in the future, he will definitely steal her heart, after which they are going to kiss the lady. The raccoon stops the Duke, and she claims that she likes people who will steal something from her, after which she suggests that he say it differently. And the young man claims that he will do everything to make the lady love him, after which the main character claims that it is better this way. And the guy again reaches out to kiss Her Majesty, but at that very moment someone knocks on the door of the room and the girl tells that person to come in. It turns out to be the butler, and he claims that the chief knight and the first secretary are asking for an audience. The girl says that they should come in. When the two enter the room, the Duke states that he will return later. But when he leaves, he looks menacingly at these two Roviel, then asks Cecile why she was looking for her, but the girl tells Her Majesty to punish her for losing sight of the rats in the palace. Roviel says that as the commander of the knights, he can see that she is fine. And he wonders what kind of punishment we are talking about if Cecile was busy carrying out her orders. But the girl says that she should have guessed, after which the main character touches her cheek, and he claims that the criminal cannot be found even now, so the girl should not blame herself. The main character then also asks how Eddie is doing, and the commander of the knights asks to forgive her for her words but claims that he is crazy. Eddie ordered that no one leave the imperial palace, but even so, finding the culprit will not be easy. In other words, whoever gave her the poisoned pie was definitely an unusual opponent, but whoever it was, he made a mistake. After all, he should have put her into eternal sleep right away, without giving others the opportunity to find out about his plans. A little while later, she tells the girl to leave the capture of the rat to Eddie, and the task of the knight's commander is to find the one who sent this rat to her. After which, the girl also turns to the secretary and claims that she was poisoned, and he wonders why he is crying. But the guy only says that Her Majesty should not fall into eternal sleep and that he will work harder, so he asks her to live. The girl then says that she will live and also wipes the ink off his face and claims that if he works so hard then he will, rather than she will lose his life. The guy claims that he is not going to fall into eternal sleep. A little while later, evening comes. The Duke brings food and states that it is time for dinner, and when they begin to eat, the girl turns to him and claims that this poison is not scary for her, but it is very scary for him, and if the guy gets poisoned, then how will she get off? The young man then claims that Her Majesty is still weak, and now the poison is dangerous for her, and therefore he will try her food until she recovers. Well, the girl tells him not to force himself, after which the guy turns to Her Majesty. And she claims that the one she took is very dangerous. Well, it is not suitable for plunging into eternal sleep. After all, it's too bitter, which immediately gives it away, and the guy asks why she ate half of it. The girl replies that she thought it was another unusual recipe. Well, then the Duke turns to Her Majesty and tells her not to eat anything with a strange taste in the future. The young lady understands that because her brother mixed medicine into the food. Then she got used to the strange taste, and the girl thinks how she will find out next time that it wasn't he who added something to the food. The Duke then claims that the Count will have to be asked to warn her if he adds any medicine, and the young lady wonders if the guy is reading her mind. Haven claims that nothing can be done about it, so he asks to eat with him in the future. And the main character thinks that when he becomes her husband, he will eat 3 times a day without interrupting his work. But for now, she needs to keep quiet about it, otherwise he might run away. The guy then claims that if the Count gives her more medicine, he will become healthier, to which the girl replies that yes, she will. So if he doesn't want to, then now is the time to stop. In the evening, the girl is already lying in bed and says that she is hot. The Duke claims that he was told that the temperature could rise, but in the middle of the night, and so much it is already dangerous. Eddie at this time turns to his sister and claims that he cannot believe that they did this to her. But at that very moment, the Duke lightly hits the Count on the head and tells him to get busy, catching the criminal after that. How will Her Majesty recover, since she has already taken the medicine? All that remains is to beat the temperature, and he asks to help him with this, to which the guy agrees, after which he puts a wet bandage on his sister. The next morning, the girl opens her eyes and sees a worried Duke and her brother in front of her. Eddie asks if sister is okay, and Haven also asks how she feels. The girl gets up and claims that she is fine, just a little hungry. Haven puts his hand to her forehead and says that it looks like the fever has gone down. The girl's brother says that, thank God. But he was so worried. The girl then apologizes for causing so much concern, and the guy says that now that she is okay, that it is finally possible to understand completely the young lady when ponders what he has planned. Well, then she says no. And whatever happens, let him not do it. But the guy claims that he hasn't said anything yet. The girl then says that in any case, no. And the guy says that he understood, but we need to track down the one who dared to touch the Empress's cake. The poisoner must be caught and punished. The girl claims that Cecile is also investigating, so let the guy share the information with her and stop scaring the guards. But the young man then claims that he will do as she said. She asks to let him increase her security because he will accompany her when she changes clothes and washes. The young lady then asks if it has to be him. To which the guy replies that of course there is not a single knight in the palace who is capable of protecting her better than him, but soon he will bring her one, so let her just wait. A little while later, the Duke opens the window to air the room. And the young lady at this time drinks tea and understands that she is tired of lying down and she knows better what to do. The girl is also interested in how the secretary is doing, and after all, so much work has fallen on him alone, so she needs to check on him. Then the young lady suggests Haven to drop in on Caleb for a minute, but the guy claims that the secretary is not in the palace today. The young lady asks why and whether he is really ill, and the Duke replies that he is not quite ill, and the Count simply said that he would plunge into eternal sleep everyone who brought work to the palace. Therefore, there are no reports, no meetings, and Her Majesty is not bothered by anything. The girl then claims that she is fine, so let him send everyone back to the palace, to which the Duke agrees but claims that he must warn her that he will inform the Count if she is meeting anyone today. The girl then orders him not to tell, but the guy apologizes and claims that he would prefer to maintain the Count's trust. The young lady then says that she told him to stay away from him, and the guy claims that that is not the issue. And just to relieve her of work today was his initiative. The guy also asks if she thinks that if you allow yourself a day off, the Empire will find itself in trouble or even fall apart. After which, he kneels before Her Majesty and claims that she is the one who saved the 7 Hills from the previous emperor, and the one who raised this empire. He understands her attachment to the empire. However, she will not be able to do everything at once and see that she is an empress and not a god. And besides, she still has a fever, so he asks her to rest today. The girl realizes that she never considered herself a god. Her position comes with a lot of responsibility, so she just tries to do what she has to do. But Haven is right, she can't know what will happen, and maybe she really should worry less about the empire. There is sense in his words, and there will only be more problems if she works too much, so the girl decides that today will be a day off. Well, she also says that if something urgent happens, she wants to see the report and also let the secretaries get back to work. She also claims that she doesn't know what to do during her vacation and is tired of sitting around doing nothing, but she has nothing to do except work. The young man, embarrassed, remains silent after this and claims that in that case they could continue where they were interrupted last time, and the main character thinks what he is talking about. After which she remembers how the guy reached out to her trying to kiss her, and when she comes out of her thoughts, she sees that the Duke is approaching her again, after which the girl closes her eyes. But at that very moment, someone knocks on the door, and the young lady claims that it will have to be postponed again. Then she also tells this man to come in, and the butler claims that he brought a list of medicines that the Count gave to Her Majesty. The girl understands that there are 3 types of medicine that she must take every week, 5 types every season, and there are also medicines taken once a year. The Duke claims that with such a list, she is clearly not afraid of any disease. And also claims that there are even Cynthia flowers there, and few know about them. The young lady asks what it is. And the guy claims that this flower grows in a certain place in the northern region, and it is a valuable drug, so it looks like the Count has done a lot of research, and it's immediately clear how much he values the young lady, but he's even jealous that he doesn't have such a brother. The main character claims that her brother is very sensitive to her health, after which the Duke says that she is his only relative, so it is not surprising that he does not care. The young lady realizes that she knows what's on his mind, and Edwin is all she has left of her family, so if he disappears again, and she will not receive any news from him, then the girl will not survive this. However, even if we put aside the value of family, does anyone usually act like Eddie? And if you think about it, something strange is happening. The girl also remembers how he said that this could not happen again, and she thinks what he meant, after which the girl turns to the Duke and tells him to call Eddie to her. The girl understands that she did not think about it, but a miracle happened, and this time she will live a better life. so now she thinks that it is time to get answers to all the questions. A little while later, the guy opens the door slightly and thinks whether he should go in. Well, at that moment, the main character turns to him, and he immediately runs up to his little sister and also asks to forgive him. The girl wonders if he has already managed to do something. And the guy claims that she is talking about the fact that he ordered not to let anyone into the palace today, and the girl asks if he didn't want her to just rest. To which the guy replies that, of course, and then she asks about that pile of medicine. But the young lady asks what's so special about it, and the guys claim that it must be. She then says that he has prepared everything necessary to plunge any of the dukes into eternal sleep if someone turns out to be a traitor. And the young lady then asks what he is talking about, after which the guy asks, really? The sister found out that he got rid of Count Balford, after which the girl tells him to stop, and he says how much he does without her knowledge, but the guy only asks if she is angry, after which the girl tells him to sit down. Eddie does so, and also tells sister not to show off because he won't do that anymore. The girl replies that she is not angry, she just wants to ask something, after which the young man asks what it is. And the girl understands that her younger brother, nicknamed a fool, doesn't care what she does, but it's strange how sharply he reacts to her health problems. And perhaps he knows that one day she already fell ill and fell into eternal sleep. After all, if so, then how could the guy have found out about this, and even in his previous life, he did not return to the county before she fell into eternal sleep? The girl also wonders whether he heard about her illness from someone else, and what he did after that. But it is possible that he, like her, returned to the past along with his memories. So now the young lady turns to Eddie and asks if he too has been reborn. The guy is only surprised by this and asks his sister if she remembers her past life. To which the girl replies that yes, and she remembers everything that happened to her until she fell into eternal sleep. The guy then says that this is impossible and the time stone was supposed to preserve only his memories. And the young lady wonders what kind of time stone this is, after which her brother turns to her. And he asks if she remembers everything for sure, to which the girl replies that she does and asks if he knows why. Then the young lady also tells the guy not to say that he turned back time. The young man then claims that the Duke once told him that there was a legend according to which one could turn back time, and he did not plan to check whether it was true. But when that girl returned, she had already fallen into eternal sleep, and on the last day of her funeral he found a letter written by her. And he still remembers every word in it, and he is very sorry in front of his little sister because he did not think that she would wait for him, and he also thought that she hated him, so he decided not to interfere in family affairs. Roviel asks why she would hate the guy, and he replies that she suffered so much every day, and he didn't help her at all, and on the day he came of age, people came to him and showered him with compliments. And they also said that the time had come to return the family to himself, so if he had known earlier that this would happen because of them, he was supposed to put them all into eternal sleep. The main character then asks if that's why he ran away, and the guy claims that she raised their family with such difficulty, and he was afraid that she would misunderstand him and decide that he wanted to take her place. The main character then jumps up from her seat and hits the guy on the head. After which, with tears in his eyes, he cries out what a fool he is, and how could he really run away because of such nonsense? But she had been looking for him for so long. At this time, the guy, confused, asks his sister not to cry, but then screams that she is not crying. Eddie claims that he only found out later that she was looking for him, but the girl wonders how he could leave home without a penny in his pocket, and he should have taken something before leaving. After which she also asks where he was. The guy replies that he went north and stopped there, and also became friends with Duke de Hard, and later heard about the time stone. She and the Duke were preparing a rebellion, and he came home to warn her because he was afraid that she would interfere. Well, he was told that the girl had already fallen into eternal sleep. Now the young lady is hugging her brother back. And she understands that he has grown up and has also become much taller than her, but he behaves just like a child. And that day he cried so bitterly, so now the reason is clear to her too. And it also becomes clear why the guy was able to overthrow the previous emperor in such a short time. It must have been because of the preparation in his past life that it was easy for him now. And he knew who would support the rebellion. He gave her the place of the empress, which rightfully belonged to him. Well, the girl thinks, why is he always involved in rebellions? After which, the young lady also asks if it means that he received the time stone from the Duke and wonders if Haven also remembers his past life, to which the guy replies that he does not think so. The girl claims that she also remembers, although it seems like she should not. And didn't the stone originally belong to the Duke? But her brother claims that if he remembered, he would have killed it the minute he saw it. The young lady wonders why. And the guy claims that he stole that stone. Roviel then sits down on the sofa, and he realizes that he doesn't even know where to start scolding him. Then the girl also says that it means he invited the Duke to the tournament because he knew him before. The lady's brother notes that he is the strongest man he has ever known. And he is not interested in power, so he does not think that he will harm his sister. But the girl claims that he said that the Duke was preparing a rebellion and did not. He want to become emperor. After which Eddie replies that no, their Duke simply hated the previous emperor. And that was before the war. The main character asks what kind of war it is. And the guy answers that Zilton has united with the Gripton Empire, and together they gathered to attack their empire, but the previous emperor did nothing even when he received the reports. In the end, everyone decided to get rid of him, because with such a fool behind them, there was no question of victory. All the hype is going to start around next year, so he asks his sister what about Togo? To unite the continents right now, and he will make her the first empress to unite the entire continent. The main character is shocked after this, and the guy claims that he has made a decision, and this time he will do whatever he wants for her. However, the young lady claims that no, and she will appreciate his kindness, but she does not need the unification of the continent, after which the guy replies that he will give her this continent because the war will start anyway and he must win. But after that, the girl only pulls her brother by the cheeks and also tells him to listen. After all, she really only needs to rule the empire of the Seven Hills, and she is not going to unite the continent and will not do it, after which she even screams for him not to do it. Roviel realizes that she doesn't care about the unification of the continent, but 4 years later, Gripton will invade her empire. And if they join Zilton and also attack, then the northern lands will become a battlefield. And then, these two, that is Haven and Edwin, will leave the imperial capital. In this case, even Phyland will not be able to fight Pagos and Delma, and it is also impossible to know what Janice Skyer would do in a critical situation, so she cannot just leave everything as it is. Now the young lady just sighs, and the guy asks his sister what happened and what she is worried about. The girl replies that of course she has heard about the war, and that is why she is worried. The guy then claims that she has a duke, and that is why they always win, so she shouldn't worry. But the girl wonders if he even thought about those who would lose. And does he really think that war is just waving swords because we are talking about gradual expansion? And if the war is won, then the territory will be expanded, and the more land they have, the more work needs to be done. After which the young lady says that fine, and first he will catch this bastard, and also they will use this opportunity to push back the East. The young lady claims that if Pagos is behind all this, then they should tell her everything first, and if this will help weaken the East, then she will also prepare. To which the guy agrees, after which he tells Her Majesty that he will go, and when the guy leaves, then the young lady turns to him and talks about the days before, after which he apologizes for turning her back on him. And it's not because she hates him, but because she's tired, and she really wanted to tell him that, after which the young lady thanks him for being there and giving her a chance. The guy then says that she raised him, after which he turns around and says that he will go and will return soon, so let the girl rest. But when he opens the door, he meets the Duke, and when Haven looks at the guy's face, he sees that he is almost crying with joy. When the Duke enters the room, he turns to Her Majesty and says that he is her brother. However, the girl interrupts the guy and says that he is too cute and also claims that it is true. The Duke says yes, and he really is very cute, after which the main character claims that he really likes Haven, and he is so charming. At this time, the Duke asks the lady to take back her terrible words, but the girl claims that it is true, after which she shows the Duke to sit next to her. She also realizes that thanks to Haven she has another chance, and she wants to thank him and apologize at the same time, but she can't say it, after which the girl also turns to Haven and claims that she will treat him well. And also if there is a need, then let him ask for anything, and it doesn't matter how much it will cost because she won't object. The guy then apologizes but claims that he would be glad if he knew why she suddenly said this. The girl then asks if there is any other reason to be nice to him, and she just really likes him, as he claims that he has big problems because he feels happy hearing such a lie. And it also seems like they talked about a lot with the Count, and he told her not to worry because the two of them would personally take care of this war, after which the guy claims that he does not particularly share the Count's beliefs, but he cannot disagree with him on this. And the girl asks if they are really talking about how Zilton and Gripton united and also invaded the Empire. The guy just smiles after this, and the main character claims that he looks so confident. The Duke also claims that, as he already said, the North is still in a state of war and all necessary preparations have also been completed. And the main character says that it's good that he is so reliable, but before that, she must make sure of everything thoroughly. The guy says that he was ready for the conversation, as he said. And also, after the Seven Hills defeat Zilton, other empires will also start moving, so at the moment. He asks if she intends to unite the continent, and the young lady realizes that the guy's train of thought is very similar to Eddie's, after which the girl says no, and yet the guy offers to try. But the young lady only screams no after this and turns away from him. The Duke only laughs at this gesture, and also claims that he thinks he has fallen in love with her determined image. But the girl claims that no matter what he says, it won't work, after which the guy takes her hand in his, and he kisses her, and also says that if Her Majesty does not want to, then he will not force her. Well, if she changes her mind, then let her tell him at any time, and he will always be on her side. The young lady then thinks what a rude guy this is, and after that incident she felt better. When the girl entered the secretary's office, he was lying on the papers as if he were dead. However, when he saw Her Majesty, he immediately stood up and turned to her with concern. The girl then told him not to cry because she was there, and the guy asked if she shouldn't rest more and if she was okay. A little while later, the girl sits down at her desk and tells Haven to pick up documents that could reflect the intentions of other empires and bring them there. The guy agrees to this, and the young lady also turns to Caleb and says that in the near future, they will give priority to documents related to the situation in the southeast. The guy then turns to Her Majesty and claims that the documents sent from the palace must be approved today. The girl then takes them and asks, "What is there?" The guy claims that these are documents concerning Her Majesty's engagement. Then the girl understands that their engagement will take place tomorrow afternoon, but she is so busy and the girl thinks why suddenly the engagement will take place so early. But she also understands that if she doesn't do this, Haven will be disappointed. Therefore, the girl signs the document and understands that engagement and marriage nothing comes easy. After the girl had settled all the urgent matters that had accumulated while she was sick, at the afternoon meeting, a proposal was made to build a dam on the Brandel River. First, about 5,000 soldiers will be sent to the south to support the development of the dam project. As soon as they can hire a professional inspector to lead the financing project, they will start sending troops. The girl was also going to talk directly to Eddie, but he said that he would come late, and the girl wondered where he was. A short time later, someone approaches Her Majesty and states that the head of the inspection team department has arrived. The main character then tells Cecil that it's okay and she's going, and even if she hadn't come, she was still going to call her. The blonde then asks Her Majesty to forgive her and also claims that she was unable to gather the information she requested. The young lady understands that after the failed attempt to poison her, there were no more suspicious movements, and if this man is trying to put her into eternal sleep, then he probably wants to take the throne. And since this attempt failed, then perhaps he is now lying low. Well, she still understands that it is absolutely obvious that there is someone who wants her to plunge into eternal sleep, and if this is not an attempt to seize the empire, then they simply hate her. But the girl wonders if it is even possible to put people into eternal sleep for such a reason. At this time, the blonde asks the lady if she knows who the culprit is, to which she replies that she does not. And there is too big a circle of people there, which surprises the commander. And the girl understands that the first ones are those whom she threatened to deprive of their heads. The second are those whose information she used, and there are also people whose business went bust because of this. Of course, thanks to this, their family became rich, but more and more people began to harbor grudges. The commander of the Knights at this time claims that if the lady says, "Hey, who they are," she will carefully study each of them, but the girl replies that no. and if at least one of them was a criminal, then Edwin would have already found out. So let Cecile concentrate on Pagos and on every move of Delma, and the girl also suggests continuing to check the relationship between Zilton and Gripton. The blonde then agrees. And the main character wonders if she knows where her brother is now. The Knight Commander claims that Count Suiton left for the west yesterday afternoon. The young lady then wonders why to the west. And Cecil asks if she should find out more detailed information, to which the main character replies that it is not necessary because they are so short of manpower, and when all the work is done, he himself will return. After which the blonde agrees and also asks when the White Owl operation will begin. Roviel realizes that the Knight Commander not only came up with a way to aggravate the dispute between Hildel and Alcides, but even gave a name to this operation, and the Operation White Owl consists in the fact that for a long time now there has been a struggle between these two territories to capture the mines of the Delpin Mountains. Moreover, it was a planned sabotage designed to crush Pagos and Delmoy. The plan is for workers dressed as county people to pretend to be mining, which is supposed to anger the Hildel family. This misunderstanding will make the Hildel family think that Count Alcus has insulted them. Therefore, Hildel will get angry and declare war on Alcus for this territory. The girl also thinks that they will need to discuss the rest with Eddie because it is not just one or two things that need to be talked about. Thanks to the county of Delmoy, which held Pagos and Hildel at bay, the story now ends with Alcus gaining the mining rights to these mines. And now if she shakes hands with Hildel and Delma, the conflict in the southeast will move to a new stage. The girl also claims that the first team will leave next week, and they cannot start acting according to plan. The Knight Commander assures Her Majesty that she will lead the team without any problems, and their main heroines say that it is good, and also that the growth of the Cana will also send a report on the approval of the development plan of the mine to Viscount Hildel, after which the Knight agrees and the main character wonders if she has done everything she planned for today. But then she remembers that she still needs to prepare the documents regarding the engagement, and she completely forgot about it. The girl also thinks about something, but then she hears a knock on the door, and when she turns around, then he sees that the Duke is there and realizes that he is just in time. The young lady then turns to the guy and tells him to go with her to a certain place. After which she realizes that no matter how busy they are, tomorrow will be their engagement, and she has never given gifts to her fiancé, who worked so hard to get into this palace, so he should be given an award for doing a great job. At this time, the guy opens one of the doors and asks if he should go there, and the girl replies that yes, and he thinks that there is no need to go far, because this place is also full of treasures and their ancestors, after which the two of them enter the room. The young lady claims that there are many precious treasures there, and moreover, some of them are amazing to look at. The guy at this time looks at one of them and claims that it is Volho, and he is also a symbol of one of the 7 families that founded the empire. This is the legendary bird that I helped the Trabia family with, and they say that thanks to this bird, the family was able to seize power over the royal family. The main character looks at this statue and wonders if this is really the legendary bird, and she also wonders if it was possible that one of her eyes was sold by the previous emperor. The girl understands that the guy could have chosen something much more expensive, but it seems that he liked this bird. After which the young lady claims that if he liked her, she will give him this bird. And this is her engagement gift, and if he doesn't like this bird, then let him choose something else. The boy then tells Her Majesty that there is no need for this, and asks what he did to deserve something like this as a gift. However, the young lady only tells him to choose. And the guy claims that if she really wants to give him something, then he would like to spend more time with her. The young lady is a little surprised by this and asks how much more. The Duke replies that 1 hour a day would be wonderful, and he wants to spend time with Her Majesty no matter what. The young lady then thinks that for some reason he looks very sincere and wonders why, after which the girl realizes that she is forcing him to look through documents all day, and they also eat together fearing that she will be poisoned again. But in the end, the girl thinks what kind of reason this is. According to which the Duke wants to be near her even during rest, after which the young lady says that if it is 1 hour a day then there will be no problems. But she doesn't understand what he means by asking her to spend the whole day with her. The guy replies that it is better for them to slowly get to know each other like yesterday. The young lady then understands that the engagement will take place tomorrow, and all she knows about her fiancé is that he works well and has warm lips. After which the girl says that yes, they will do that, but he must choose a gift because she also wants to give him something. After which the guy looks at the eye of this bird and claims that if she insists, then he will take this stone. The young lady then thinks that he chose exactly this anyway, and it's such a small thing. And so the evening with Haven came, the girl says that they have gone far, so she suggests that they rest, and then move on, to which the guy agrees. After which the young lady sits down, and the Duke states that Her Majesty moves too little. The girl claims that leading a sedentary lifestyle is normal, but the young man says that it is harmful to her health. Roville is interested in dispelling. He said that she will live a long time, considering the amount of medicine she takes, but Haven claims that he didn't know about her stamina, so that's why he said so. The girl claims that even if she looks weak, she copes with her duties and lives well, after which the girl says that it seems that her brother will not return today. But if she doesn't see Eddie, she always has a premonition of impending trouble. The Duke then asks if the girl is talking about the Count. And he also says that in his opinion the Count is not the one to worry about. Well, the girl claims that she worries about anything, but not about this child, after which Haven says that it is clear and the main character only smiles. After which she asks if the guy had brothers or sisters, to which he replies that no, and he is the only child in the family, but the girl asks who then rules the duchy, to which the guy replies that his uncle, and the girl claims that it seems he trusts his uncle a lot since he left his territory to him. Haven claims that he is one of those who wanted him to go into eternal sleep in Falenda, but as a manager he is a reliable person. The main character is then surprised and asks why exactly such a person and his immersion into eternal sleep is a huge loss for the Seven Hills, so he must live long and this is an order. The girl also asks how an uncle can wish such a thing for his nephew and whether she should interfere. Well, the guys answer that maybe he doesn't see him as a nephew. The main character wonders what this means, after which the young man remains silent and touches his hair. And the main character realizes that he has ash-gray hair. In the ducal family, everyone has black hair and eyes. Well, now the young lady says, what kind of nonsense is this, because hair color does not have to be the same. Haven claims that his mother did not come to her senses soon after his birth, so he was more than 2 years old when he set foot in the ducal castle. His parents are brunettes, and he is like that. That is why many people say that he is not related to the Dehards. Hey, uncle is one of them. The young lady then says how much evil they gave the child, and this definitely needs to be punished, and all of this guy's hair needs to be pulled out. The guy then claims that he doesn't really care, but the girl claims that this is out of the question, and that they insulted him and his mother, so she will make them stop saying this nonsense. But the guy claims that it is true, and his parents adopted him, and after they plunged into eternal sleep, he and Her Majesty now know the truth. The girl then wonders what this has to do with her desire to shut their mouths, and his uncle should pull his mouth over his head to calm down. The Duke then only smiles and asks Her Majesty to have mercy. He also claims that if he becomes her husband, he will leave the position of Duke Uncle, and it will be a little awkward for him to do so after her punishment. The young lady understands that even if he smiles like that, she will not get any better, and after Haven became her husband, she only now learns that he wants to give up the duchy. The girl also wonders if it is necessary to go to such lengths, and whether it is really too difficult to hide her adoption while being a duke. But then she realizes that there is something else there, and adopted children are also children, so everything is fine as long as he has a title and he rules well. After which the young lady asks why he participated in the tournament, and whether it was to give up the title to his father's biological brother. The Duke replies that it is not about that, and some time ago he learned from someone that she, in order to prove her skills, needs to take on great responsibility, and as the leader of the server, he came to Her Majesty to protect it. The main character is a little surprised by this, and then says that whoever it is, he is right. And the young man claims that he is an outstanding person. The young lady then understands that she does not care whether the guy came there with any intentions or simply ran away due to lack of confidence. And this is a matter of feelings, but she is glad that her future husband is not a fool who is unable to defend himself because of shame in front of his relatives. After which, the young lady tells him not to worry about anything because he will become her husband, and the territory of Dahard is part of her empire, so she will definitely protect him. The guy then says that he will become the sword that protects Her Majesty, and the girl claims that he speaks just like her brother, and it looks like she will now be able to swing a double sword, after which the guy just smiles and the girl gets up and holds out her hand to him. And also claims that it's already late after, which he suggests going back, to which the guy agrees, and after that they return to the palace. Later Eddie did not show up for the ceremony, and the girl thought that he would in any case find time to attend her engagement, but because of his words about traveling to the west, she was a little worried, and she was worried not so much about her brother, but about the west itself. The girl also entrusted Eddie with the care of the army, but she does not care about this child, so she had to choose the leader herself. The girl also plans to send soldiers under the pretext of building a dam, so she will have to maintain the legend until Eddie returns. But one of the 4 powerful ducal families is approaching its demise, and this is the first step towards wiping Eastern Pagos off the face of the earth. And after Pagos disappears from the map, the collected money will be the most desired loot, and it will also destroy the tax-free life of the 4 duchies. The girl also thinks that the mere thought of collecting Pagos wealth makes her happy, after which the young lady enters the hall and sees her future husband there. The guy looking at her only smiles, and the main character smiles back at him, after which she says that maybe she should take care of him, and about the arrogant Duke de Hard who ignored the invitation to their official engagement, after which they approach the throne, and the priest states that by order of the empress, the Duke will be given the title of Marquise, and the young lady, looking at the de Hard family, wonders why they look so tense, and where are their congratulations, and aren't they relatives of the previous Duke, and it's a pity that the uncle she so wanted to meet still didn't come. The girl also understands that she is going to get rid of him if he starts to get impudent, but in any case he is not there. O priest, it is stated that from now on, Her Majesty Empress Roviel Satan and Duke Haven de Hard are engaged. A little while later, the girl approaches one of the aristocrats and claims that today is such a wonderful day. The guy then asks in shock if this is really Her Majesty, and the other aristocrats who were whispering to him begin to disperse. After which the guy seemed to ask if Her Majesty was really addressing him, and the girl with a smile on her face shows that she came to him, after which she asks why he doesn't congratulate the Duke. And the atmosphere in the evening is not the most pleasant when everyone has such gloomy faces, after which the guy turns to the Duke and is silent for a while. But the man claims that Her Majesty ordered congratulations, and this guy wonders if congratulations are really necessary and whether this is definitely not a will, after which he and other aristocrats happily congratulate Her Majesty and the Duke, and one of them asks how it is possible to look so harmonious together, and this thing is part of them for the Empire. The young lady then looks at the table and realizes that this is not the reaction she expected. A little while later, they are already starting to eat, and the girl realizes that it is time to think about it. When the boy was still little, he was surrounded by people who did not believe in his origin. Well, he really was adopted, and that's why he grew up to be a wonderful duke who copes with the tasks set before him perfectly. The girl also thinks that Haven didn't say that after becoming a duke he dealt with his ill-wishers, and the young lady wonders what he did. The guy at this time asks Her Majesty if she needs anything, and Roviel replies that no, and she just wanted to make sure that the guy eats well, after which she tells him to eat more. At this time, other aristocrats sit at the table in an oppressive atmosphere, but when the Duke looks at them, then they immediately smile, and the main character thinks how they can change so quickly because of just one look. A little while later, the commander of the knights also congratulates Her Majesty and claims that she heard the Empress calling her. The main character replies that yes, and she wants to ask what the relationship is between Haven and the nobles of the north, and maybe there were some scandals, after which the commander of the knights asks if she means Duke de Hard, but she heard that the Duke considers the northern nobles parasites and keeps them in check. The main character understands that this is expected, and she claims that she heard in the ducal family there were many assumptions about Haven's birth. The blonde says that as for this, while Sir Haven has not yet matured, his uncle, who is the current deputy, is their Duke of Troyes. Rumor has it that he tried his best to get rid of his nephew, but then the blonde wants to say something else and stops, and the young lady asks what happens next. after which the commander of the knights claims that on the day of his coming of age, Sir Haven shaved the Duke of Tride's beard with a sword, and they also say that he was aiming for the neck, but in the end decided to limit himself to the beard, but anyway, he went that far. Roville wonders if he was seriously going to execute his uncle, and it turns out he is capable of such a thing. But in any case, the engagement ended happily, and now Haven has become the reserve ruler of the Empire of the Seven Hills. The 5,000-strong army reached the southeast, and they went to the Brandel River. She also negotiated with the 7 talents stolen by Edwin and won over several people. And besides the architect, Ninezel happily took on the construction of the Brandel Dam. And finally, Edwin returned. The guy at this time turns to his sister and claims that she said that she had a meeting but wonders if she left it too early. The young lady then realizes that her brother has returned with an impressive blonde girl. Roville then tells his brother that she forbade him to leave for a long time and asks if this is true, to which the guy replies that it is. And the main character pulls him by the cheeks and also screams why the hell he was gone for 10 days, and he knows how she was worried. The guy then tries to say through his cheeks that he was wrong and apologize to his sister. After which the girl just sighs, and the young man asks if she is angry, and also says that he didn't do it on purpose, but the young lady says that if he just tries to do it on purpose, he will fall into eternal sleep at her hands. But seriously, she asks if there was some kind of accident that made him stay so late. The guy asks if she's talking about an accident and insists that everything is fine. And the main character asks who this lady is then, and the young man claims that he heard that there is a doctor specializing in poisons and had to pursue her for a long time, but in the end they managed to meet, they talked, and the guy convinced her to come there, and now he will introduce her officially, after which the young man claims that this is her new personal knight. But after that silence falls between them, then the Empress breaks the silence and claims that she was talking to Eddie. No more kidnapping people, but the guy tells his sister that everything is not so and she agreed to become her bodyguard. The young lady then asks if he is serious, to which the guy replies that yes, and he is not lying after, which they both look at the lady with the blonde hair. And she says that she is pleased to meet Her Majesty, but when the girl is about to introduce herself, at that very moment, the commander of the knights runs into the room and asks Her Majesty and the Count to forgive her for her impolite intrusion. But the matter is urgent, Roville then tells Cecile to tell, and the girl claims that the Duke's heir Janice Schuyler was kidnapped. And she also heard that she is currently in Falenda. This girl is the second daughter of Duke Skyer and was last seen. However, the main character at this time looks at the girl in surprise, after which she only smiles. She also says that she is very happy to meet them and her name is Janice Skyer. After this, they are all silent again, but the young lady's brother does not click and immediately leaves the room. And also says that he loves his sister very much. When the guy leaves, the main character sighs and asks if the girl says that her name is Janice. The blonde answers Her Majesty that yes, and the main character asks if she wants to be her personal knight. Janice replies that she will protect Her Majesty and is devoted to carrying out her orders. Their main character says okay, and then she gives her the first task. After which, he tells the girl to go and transfer this bastard, to which the blonde agrees. And when she comes out, the young lady turns to the commander of the knights and asks when the Duke will arrive in Finland. Cecile replies that in 3 or 4 days. Roville asks if the Duke knows that Eddie kidnapped Janice. The knight replies that he definitely does, after which the main character asks why her brother did this, and he is not one of those who will do what she forbade him, and the girl does not look like someone who was brought there against her will. The knight commander claims that it all actually began with the escape of Janice Skyer in the duchy located west of the imperial capital. The second daughter of Duke Skyer is Janice Skyer. Even as a child, she was superior to her brother and sister. So she was raised as the heir to the duchy, but she ran away the day after her 18th birthday. Hearing that his runaway daughter was with Eddie the Duke, went to Finland to get her back. And the commander of the knights claims that, probably because of the previous kidnapping and famous people, the Duke mistakenly believed that Eddie kidnapped Janice too. The young lady then says that it is good and asks if her brother is innocent. Cecile replies that he is innocent. And the young lady claims that if the girl has come of age and decided to leave, then it must be a conscious decision, after which she tells Cecile that they can go because she wants to visit these two. Well, when they go outside, the main character sees these two fighting. At this moment, the young lady's brother cries out, "Has the girl really gone crazy, and why the hell did she pull out the sword?" But Janice screams for the bastard to just shut up and investigate behind her. The guy then screams who the bastard is. And the girl replies that Her Majesty called him that. Eddie then screams that even if she said something like that, she has no right to say such a thing. But the blonde insists that Her Majesty's words cannot be denied. The main character at this time turns to Cecile, and he claims that this time he will write a letter of thanks from the Emperor, and even two. But the girl replies that despite the fact that Her Majesty's writing skills warm her heart, there are things that are beyond her powers. At this time, someone else approaches Her Majesty, and the main character sees that it is Haven, after which she turns to him. And he asks if he can separate them, to which the guy agrees, and then does so, and also lifts the two of them up by their clothes and claims that Her Majesty told them both to stop. The blonde then apologizes to Her Majesty and claims that the Count refused to follow her orders, and the guy with a smile on his face tells his sister that he is guilty, after which the main character says that Cecile should take Janice to the valet and the girl should follow Cecile because she will prepare her room. Then the young lady also turns to her brother and tells him to give her a minute, to which he agrees. Well, when the Empress turns to Haven to thank him, the two of them glare at each other again. Roviel also asks if the guy will go first because she needs to talk to her brother about something. Haven says that it is not scary and he will wait, to which the young lady agrees. And when the girl talks to her brother, he says that he really didn't kidnap this girl. The young lady claims that she heard she ran away. And her brother replies that, yes, that's why he doesn't want to go home. Roviel also asks Eddie if he knew Janice before, to which the guy replies that yes, and they crossed paths in the north. Well, the main character smiles and asks if they just crossed paths and were they close. Why does the guy get embarrassed and say that not at all? And also they don't understand each other, and this girl is a bit strange. Roviel then wonders if he really put a strange person as his sister's bodyguard. And the guy claims that she is one of the strongest women in his memory, after which the young lady claims that he has not changed at all. And when they sit down, the girl claims that in the end she came there of her own free will, and they can't return her back to the Duke. Eddie claims that she ran away because she doesn't want to become a duchess, and even if they return her to the duchy, will she stay there? Roviel also asks if her brother managed to find the one who mixed the poison, but the guy apologizes and says no. The girl claims that it could have been a personal insult, and maybe it's worth looking among those she crossed while being a countess. Eddie claims that he dug everything up, but will check again, after which the girl replies that no, and once is enough. She also understands that she questioned all the courtiers who had any connection to the poisoned pie, but no one confessed. And then Eddie took up the investigation, but she doesn't think the criminal could lie to him until the end. It is still unknown who the culprit is, but all the suspects have been expelled, and Eddie has been looking for traces even outside the palace, but it hasn't brought any results. After which the girl suggests leaving him alone, and if this man is aiming for her life, then he will try to plunge her into eternal sleep again. But the young man claims that his sister is in danger, and wonders if he should really wait. The young lady claims that Haven is next to her and tries her food first. And the guy also brought the strongest bodyguard in the Empire, so what is there to worry about? And besides, because of his medicine for the poison, she can no longer easily fall into eternal sleep. Well, the guy then wants to object to his sister, but she tells him not to be upset because the investigation is ongoing, and the guards will continue to look for the culprit. After which the young man agrees and claims that among her knights, he is the strongest. The girl then says that, of course, and the young man claims that he is stronger than Janice. The main character then asks what about Haven and whether he is also stronger. The guy claims that in his past life he was the strongest, but in this one he has been holding a sword in his hands since childhood, and the young lady wonders if he is superior to him. To which the guy replies that they are almost equal and the Duke has been training much longer than him, so he is still stronger, but he will be the strongest and is confident of it. The main character strokes her brother's head and says that she has no doubt that their Eddie is a genius swordsman. A little while later, the young lady also approaches Haven and he smiles and asks if they had a good conversation. The girl then replies that yes and asks how long he waited. She also understands that she has nothing to worry about. After all, Eddie and Haven are next to her. A little while later, Janice enters the room. Dressed in a knight's uniform, the main character greets her. The girl then thanks Her Majesty for the invitation, and Roviel tells the girl to sit down, after which they begin their meal. And the main character understands that apparently the girl has firmly decided to stay in Falenda, but it is better to clarify everything with her herself. She then turns to Janice and claims that Duke Skyer will soon arrive at the Imperial Palace for her and asks if she plans to go home with him. The knight replies that she is an adult, that she just found a job, and if Her Majesty fires her, she will go look for another job, but she will not return to Skyer. Roviel claims that she is not going to fire the girl, and since she has decided everything, she will persuade the Duke to leave her there. The young lady also understands that this girl seems to be hiding deep wounds. Janice thanks Her Majesty for her understanding, but she asks to be allowed to ask an extra question, and wonders why the girl does not want to return to the Duke's house. Janice claims that she must not return, otherwise her brother or sister will not become the Duke's successors. The main character then thinks that she understands, and that Eddie in his past life was similar to Janice. He ran away from home to give her the county. The blonde at this time claims that they dumped everything on her, and they did absolutely nothing, so now let them obey their mother. And she really wanted to go back to see it. At this time, Roviel is thinking about what happened there, and the blonde at this time claims that she will never return home and will give her life to protect Her Majesty, so she can have no doubt about it. Roviel wonders if the girl really hates the house so much that it is better to plunge into eternal sleep than to return there, and what can the Duke do to counter such a mood? Skyer's heir, having fled to the Imperial Palace, creates a perfect opportunity to gain Western support, who always remained a bystander, after which the young lady intentionally apologizes to Janice. But in the West, she is not going to miss out on the opportunity that has come her way. Well, she is also wondering if everything will go according to plan. Within a few days, Janice had adapted well to her work in the Imperial Palace. She also left her post only to sleep and conscientiously performed her duties as a bodyguard. 3 days later, Roviel gave her the day off for the first time, and that was the day when Deitria Skyer arrived at the palace for her daughter. The woman then turns to Her Majesty and states that her name is Deitria Skyer, after which she also points to the box and claims that it is a gift from her for her coronation. The main character is thinking about what to give this now in the 5th month of her accession to the throne. This is somehow weak, and the girl tells Deitria Skyer to sit down because she must be tired after such a long journey. The woman then thanks Her Majesty, but claims that she does not see her daughter, and she heard that she became Her Majesty's personal knight. The young lady understands that she can hear the words, "Give me back my daughter," coming from her, and that I'm sorry, of course. But the Duchess won't get it, and it's better to talk about more interesting things. The girl then turns to the Duchess and claims that Janice took the day off due to illness. The woman then asks if she is sick, and the main character replies that there is no need to worry because she is just pretending. After which, the woman turns to Her Majesty and claims that she is too generous. Raz allows the knights to do such things, but Roviel claims that Janice is extremely talented, so she is ready to turn a blind eye to some of her whims. The Duchess then claims that she can be used for something more useful, to which the young lady replies that she will agree, but what can she do if she wants to be near her? The Duchess then turns to Her Majesty and says that if she is going to get her princess, she had better give up this idea. Well, the girl also says that the Duchess should not forget that her daughter's life is in her hands. Therefore, she should be more careful, and besides, the life of the Duchess is also in her hands. The woman then asks if Her Majesty is threatening her now, and the girl replies that she has become an empress. After plunging into eternal sleep, the past emperor, and wonders if the woman thinks she won't be able to decapitate anyone else. After this, the woman only sighs and says that Her Majesty is more interesting than the rumors she heard about her. And she also apologizes for being rude, and yet she asks me as a countess and as a grieving mother to let her daughter go, but the girl says that the Duchess should not bother. After all, Janice came to her of her own free will and she can leave whenever she wants. Roviel also understands that it is fortunate to return to them, but she is not burning with desire. The woman also asks if the lady needs anything from the Duchy of Skyer. The young lady replies that absolutely nothing. After which the Duchess tells her to speak directly, and they do not trust each other, so they offer to make a deal to separate peacefully. But the Empress once again turns to the Duchess and asserts that she did say that she does not need anything from her. Rovio understands that she will cleanse Pagos and then Delmoy and prepare for war with other powers. The main thing is that no one dares to stand in her way, and in other words, it only plays into her hands if Skyer will sit quietly and not interfere with what is happening in the outside world. The woman at this time promises Her Majesty that the Duchy of Skyer will follow her will. Rovio states that this is wonderful, and it would be much better if they could trust each other more in the future. To which the woman tells Her Majesty, of course, but asks to be allowed to ask whether her daughter really said herself that she wants to become her bodyguard. The Empress says that it is amazing, but the girl even said that she would give her life to protect her. The woman wonders if she is serious. The main character tells the Duchess to ask her herself whether it is true or not. The woman claims that no, and she does not doubt Her Majesty's words, and also her daughter is a good girl but very cautious and is often misunderstood. She was also worried that this girl could be rude to Her Majesty. Well, the main character says that the girl is polite and sincere, so let the Duchess not worry because everything is fine. The woman then says that the Empress must have really liked this child. A little while later, Janice also comes into the room and her mother asks if it was fun to run away from home, to which she replies that it was, and the main character decides to leave them to talk alone. But when she comes out, someone addresses Her Highness, and the girl realizes that it is Haven. The guy at this time claims that he was waiting for her, and the young lady understands that if you think about it, everything is clear with Eddie and Janice, but she still can't understand why Haven likes her. After that, the two of them go outside, and the guy asks if Her Majesty really wants to stop the investigation into the assassination attempt on her. The girl replies that he is there too, and claims that Eddie has already scolded her for this. And also, if they still haven't been able to catch the villain, then they need to provoke him to new actions. The guy then asks how she can talk about this so frivolously since her life is at stake. But the young lady tells Haven to relax because she values her life, and let her think better about the fact that it was no secret to anyone that Eddie was mixing drugs into her food. Also, the poison that the villain used was incredibly bitter in taste, so the criminal who used this poison probably knew about these two things. The guy claims that the criminal could have hoped that she would not notice the taste, but the girl claims that she doesn't eat everything because she ate a piece and threw away the rest. But the Duke claims that she did eat it, after which they are silent for a while, and the young lady claims that in any case, she does not think that they really planned to put her into eternal sleep. After all, it's somehow awkward for poisoning the Empress herself. The guy then claims that thank God everything worked out, but she doesn't think so. Rovio claims that the poisoner could have had other goals, and she still thinks that even if they didn't want to put her into eternal sleep, if that's the case, then that's an even bigger headache. After which the Duke states that while her life is in danger, nothing else matters. The young lady wonders what this something means, and she doesn't understand what's going on in his head. The guy replies that there is nothing but a headache, and the girl asks whether she should tell the court physician about this. At this point, the guy is about to answer something, but the girl interrupts him and claims that she knows that he will say that he will take care of his own life. Well, the young man replies that no, and he won't tell the vet. At first, when he saw the list of medications that the Count gave her, he thought that it was too much, but now he understands why he did it. At this time, the main character is wondering if he really didn't understand anything since she almost fell into an eternal sleep from the poisoning. And the girl also does not understand for what purpose they tried to poison her. After all, the criminal could easily have poisoned her in a bunch of other ways. But he chose Juriel's poison, and this means that he poisoned her with other intentions, and also her immersion into eternal sleep was not his goal, and she is fine with it. Rovio also understands that Eddie is so concerned about her health because in her past life she fell into eternal sleep due to illness, but she cannot tell the Duke this. The guy at this time suggests discussing the issue with the Count, and he also agrees with Her Majesty regarding the possibility of the presence of unknown intentions and asks if she has any guesses, to which the girl replies that she has none, and also wonders if the criminal could have predicted whether she would eat the poison or spit it out without swallowing, and if she did eat it, whether she would fall into eternal sleep or get sick. There are too many variables. The guy claims that he understands. And the girl claims that if he achieved what he wanted, then he has already gone into hiding, so now all that remains is to wait and force Eddie to comb every millimeter of land, which would be cruel. The girl also claims that the guards continue to monitor Janice. The kingdom has also become much safer, and as Haven understands, the army commander has a lot of work to do. A little while later, the young lady's brother is already peeling an apple and claims that something is bothering him. That his sister is left alone and he is going away so far. The girl then asks if Eddie could concentrate. To which the guy replies that of course, and he pays attention, after which he talks about an operation called White Owl. He also claims that he will first go to Mount Delphin with the White Owl army. In order to work on the dam, the warriors pretend to be from the east. If Viscount Hildel takes their owls for Alcus's army, he will declare war. Sister has decreed that there should be no chaos in the southeast. So, for the sake of stability and the empire, the imperial army will intervene as a mediator. The main character says that exactly, but claims that the title is a title, and with its help one can take the loyal South Delmoy with the dissatisfied Pagos and separate from them both. With this operation, he isolates Pagos. The girl replies that everything is so he is a guy and says that it is not a problem and it is simple, but the real problem is that the sister does not care about her well-being. The girl asks why this is, and the guy tells her to judge for herself because everything they are talking about now concerns politics. And the young man asks if he should empty the palace so that she won't be in danger. Haven says, that sounds tempting. And the girl claims that she is working on it, but her brother claims that he is the only one still worried. Because of the attempt to plunge into eternal sleep, and therefore he asks the Duke to take care of his sister, and also to make sure that she doesn't put anything in her mouth that hasn't been personally tested by him, and he will leave the medicine with the butler, to which Haven agrees. The girl then asks, what if the Duke gets poisoned, and the guy tells her not to be afraid, because knowing this he gave the Duke hepatin in large doses, so that if he eats a little poison, Tony will fall into eternal sleep. At this time, the guy turns to his sister and tells her to look at this body. After all, the Duke looks like he can defeat a bear with his bare hands, and what would happen to him from a drop of poison? And his clothes are about to tear. The young lady then tells her brother not to point the knife at anyone, and even if the Duke is able to put the bear into eternal sleep, this does not protect him from the poison. Haven claims that he certainly won't be able to put the bear into eternal sleep with his bare hands, but he won't be harmed by the poison. At this time, the young lady's brother asks if he can't even deal with a bear, but then he'll deal with him too. Well, the Duke claims that even though the bear is too tough for him, he can deal with it in no time. The girl then suggests leaving the showdown with this bastard to her, and if he beats this guy, he will have to deal with her. Eddie asks if he heard and says that then only his sister can beat him. After which he also suggests to his sister to finish here and hands her some apples. After which he tells her to eat, and the main character wonders if it's really just her. After which, the girl says that Eddie also needs to eat, so she offers to split it in half, but the guy says that the young lady should eat the whole thing. After which, he takes another apple and throws it to the Duke and tells him to eat it, and was strong enough to take good care of his little sister. The young man also wonders if he understood, and the main character wonders what kind of a thing this is and where her brother got such words from. But in childhood, he was always distinguished by politeness and kindness, after which the girl wonders whether she spoils him too much or does not pay attention to him. The Duke at this time only bites the apple and claims that he has understood, and the young lady wonders if he is going there too. The young lady also watches them eat these apples and realizes that it looks like a friendship between crazy children. A little while later, the girl is already sitting with papers and the Duke is watching her. After which he asks why she doesn't take a rest, because Her Majesty looks completely different from usual. Rovielle claims that without her little brat at her side, she has no strength for anything, and the Duke claims that it's only been a couple of days since the Count left the palace. Rovielle claims that for the first time he went somewhere precisely on her orders and he will be fine. Haven asks if she is talking about the Count, and whether to worry about him or the people on the Brandel River. The girl then says that he does not understand her feelings at all because she is the older sister, but sends her younger brother to such a dangerous place. The Duke claims that, in his opinion, this is the only way to avoid much more serious problems. And he thinks that the Count would be glad to receive an order from her, because it means that she believes in him. The empress claims that she always believed in him, and yet the guy says that giving him an assignment is a little different. The girl also remembers how the guy claimed that since sister believed in him, he would give it his all so as not to disappoint her. And the Duke claims that he thinks Her Majesty may already be thinking about a eulogy for the Count. After all, she has nothing to worry about, after which the young lady turns to the Duke and puts her hand on his cheek. The guy then asks, "Her Majesty, what is it?" And the girl says that she thinks getting engaged to him was a really great decision. The young man then turns to Her Majesty once more, but she only strokes his head. And the guy is a little surprised by this, and when the girl removes her hand and sees his surprised face, she asks if everything is okay. After this, the guy just says that it's nothing, and the young lady says that it's really time to rest, after which she suggests going to lunch, to which the guy agrees. A little while later, the girl is already changing clothes, after which she hears someone knocking on the room and telling that person to come in. It turns out to be the commander of the knights, and she tells Her Majesty that Hildel is declaring war. The young lady wonders if this is true, and also that they were faster than she thought. Cecile replies that it is true, and Operation White Owl has proven to be extremely effective. Their guys are experts at pissing people off. At this time, the girl asks if Eddie knows, and the knight's commander replies that, of course, because the Count said that he should also hurry. The Empress asks how Pagos and Delmoy reacted, to which Cecile replies that Duke Pagos is looking for a way out of the current situation, and for him, Hildel's war with Alcus was a big surprise. The lady with pink hair claims that it was worth it because they all know who will benefit from the confrontation between the South and the East. The Knight Commander claims that she sent a protest to Duke Delmoy, and for Duke Pagos, this will be a real stab in the back. After which, the main character tells Cecile to monitor Delmoy's reaction and report any movements, although the girl thinks that perhaps everything is developing faster than she planned, and the North Guards, Haven, and the West is out of the game for a while. There won't be any serious problems until the White Owl is completed. And the girl wants to personally see Duke Pagos's reaction and not just get a report, after which she turns to Cecile and claims that she should be there too. The commander of the knights asks where she should be, and the young lady answers that she was going to go to the Duchy of Pagos. A little while later, the young lady was already in the carriage, and someone asks if she's tired. Roviel wonders if she should be tired. To which the Duke replies that she has weak stamina, so he is only worried that the journey will be difficult for her. The girl claims that it is easier than sorting through daily documentation and having to sit over documents for 14 hours a day to get everything done. The young man then says that she will drive herself into a grave, and the girl understands that she actually once fell ill and fell into eternal sleep, after which the guy claims that for the Empire to have such an empress is a matter of pride, but for him to know that his bride does not take care of herself so much is a real tragedy. The girl claims that she doesn't work that much, but the guy says that she is an inveterate workaholic, and let her think that their trip is a long-awaited vacation, and also does not return to work for 3 months. The girl answers that no way, and asks how she can leave the palace for 3 months if she is already worried about even a month of her future absence. The guy claims that thanks to her, the current empire will survive for a year without anyone's help. And then the girl sarcastically apologizes for the fact that the engagement with her is a real tragedy. The young man claims that being engaged to her is the best thing that has ever happened to him, but the documents are more important to her than him. Roviel claims that he could have simply told her that he needed something, but she only looks at her when she finishes her work. The guy claims that if she likes the work he has done, then she should at least smile. And he asks if the Empress knows that he is trying only for the sake of her smile, and besides, even when he was the Duke of the North, he never worked so much. Roviel claims that they walked together every day for an hour. And the guy claims that if it weren't for this, she would have been stuck in the palace all day. The young lady then turns to Haven and claims that she likes him and that she always liked what he does, so he shouldn't overexert himself. The guy suggests that she not say such insidious things, but the girl wonders what's wrong because she's just telling him the truth. But the Duke claims that she doesn't realize that what she said could lead to misunderstanding. Roviel understands that she cares about him, and doesn't she show it enough? After which the young lady turns to Haven again and claims that she doesn't know what she's doing wrong, but she really likes him. He works well, and is also handsome and has a pleasant voice. He is kind and smart, and his hair is soft and silky. And she also likes his clear eyes, and she also likes holding hands with him because she enjoys the warmth of his big palm. The girl is going to continue her story, but after this, the guy, embarrassed, says that it's okay and he understands. The girl then tells him to wait because that's not all, and the coachman, hearing this, only becomes embarrassed. A little while later, the guy tells the lady not to worry because the Count is not someone who can be easily put into eternal sleep. Roville states that she hopes the Duke remembers that her brother is an ordinary man. Haven then tells the young lady that this tea will help her relieve stress, and everything will be fine with the Count because she will still see him. At this time, someone enters the room and tells Her Majesty that a messenger from the Commander-in-Chief has arrived. The young lady asks if he has come from Eddie, after which she tells him to let him in quickly. Then the man hands the lady a sheet of paper, and the girl, having read it, only sighs. The guy then asks what happened to the Count, and the girl replies that the Commander-in-Chief defeated the elite army of Pagos. And she also says that, thank God, it is so. The girl also wonders how the rest of the East reacted. And the servant claims that after the news of the Duke's defeat, no movements were noticed. Haven claims that he thinks they realize that they can't stand against the Imperial Army, and especially if they do something. The Empress compliments his phrase and claims that this will be considered treason, and she is also the one whose name every resident of this empire must know. After all, she is a leader who is young but already walks under her own coat of arms on the flag. Her closest relative is the son of the Viscount, the commander of the troops. The girl came with dozens of knights to the unstable territory and looks at them unwaveringly. After all, it can only be Her Imperial Majesty, Roville Satan. The knights then lay down their swords and shout in greeting to Her Imperial Majesty. He also asks what brought them there, and the girl replies that she is there to resolve the conflict between the East and the South, after which she asks how the war is going now. One of them claims that the situation was difficult when the son of the Eastern Duke personally entered the war, and now everything has improved because the young Duke of Pagosa has withdrawn his troops back. The South will take advantage of this opportunity, and they are now preparing for a full-scale war. The girl then asks what made Pagos retreat, and the knight claims that he heard rumors that the duchy was under attack. The young lady wonders who did it, and the guy replies that he is not sure, but heard that a few days ago the commander-in-chief went to the east. The girl then wonders if he is talking about Eddie. Meanwhile, the Duke claims that it looks like someone has chosen the fastest way to end this war, but the girl claims that it's not funny and Eddie is in the Duchy of Pagos. After which Haven claims that if he heard that Her Majesty was heading to the battlefield, he would do the same. The girl says that it is impossible to end the war with only 1,000 soldiers under her command and she must join him, but the Duke tells Her Majesty that it seems she has forgotten that she does not even have 1,000 soldiers. The girl then asks if it wouldn't be better to arrive there unnoticed, and her bodyguard says that's absurd. A little while later, the girl is already sitting and turning to the young Viscount Hildel, and also claims that he said that the South is preparing for a large-scale war with the East. So she asks if this is true, to which the guy replies that yes, and the Duke's son will lead the South's offensive on Alkis. The girl then asks if they are going to start the offensive from there, to which the boy replies that yes, and his father has already gone to greet the young Duke Delmoy, so they are expecting him this evening. The Empress then turns to the Duke and tells him to prepare everything for departure, to which he replies that he understands. And the young lady claims that they are going to Viscount Hildel. A little while later, they are already inside the building and the girl is looking at the rain, and the Duke claims that she is worried about the water and not about the little children. The girl replies that she does not deny it, and is really very worried about her brother, after which Haven tells her not to worry, because the Count is not someone who can be easily put into eternal sleep. But the main character claims that she hopes the Duke remembers that her brother is an ordinary person. After that, someone enters the room and tells them that a messenger from the Commander-in-Chief has arrived. Hey, the girl says to let him in immediately. When the young lady reads this sheet, the Duke asks what happened. The girl replies that everything is fine, and asks how her brother is doing, to which the messenger replies that it looks like the Duke's son was plunged into eternal sleep in the previous battle, and the Duke's palace itself was surrounded and attacked. The young lady understands that it has always been like this, and victory is a revolution about defeat rebellion. Duke Pagosa is the only fool who does not understand that the Imperial army is too tough for him, but he did not retreat even when his elite troops and his own son fell. It's true that Eddie is not one to show mercy to those who tuck their tails between their legs, but the fact is that the Duchy of Pagos ended up like that. Means that it deliberately fought against the Imperial army. The Duke at this time claims that the steamship count cleared their way well, and the young lady says how she wants to see Eddie as soon as possible, and yet the guy claims that Her Majesty's safety is a priority, and he insists that she wait for the Army of the South. The girl replies that yes, and they will check the condition of Duke Pagos only after the arrival of Duke Del Moy's son. A little while later, Geppetto Del Moy comes there and claims that it is a great honor for him to help them, after which he also kisses the young lady's hand, and Haven looks at it menacingly. However, when the girl looks at him, the guy just turns around and the main character smiles, and also asks if they should go and takes Haven's hand. A little while later, they already come to the garden, and the girl claims that someone's hands have dropped again. Her brother asks his sister to honor him, and the girl asks if he wants to be responsible for his actions, and if this is his punishment for making her worry. The guy then claims that he just wanted to quickly sort everything out so he could see his sister sooner. Hey, isn't that the easiest way? The Duke nods and says he agrees with him, and the girl thinks about what he agrees with. Under the Imperial flag, the Satan family gathered 2,000 soldiers to protect Hildel. The other rulers of the East did not interfere in the battle, and having locked the doors silently, watched everything. And that was the only right decision for them. Despite the fact that everyone was preparing for a large-scale war, the Empress and the southern troops peacefully arrived in the territory of Duke Pagos. The civil war, which almost turned into a territorial one, quickly came to an end. The Supreme Commander executed Pagos's son, who fought against the Imperial army and then laid siege to the Duke's castle. The Duke locked himself inside and did not react. However, as a generous empress, the girl decided to lend a helping hand to Pagos. She wrote that she would turn a blind eye to their son's betrayal if they voluntarily surrendered, but otherwise she would consider them traitors as well, and then nothing would stop them from breaking in by force, and they would be given 3 days to think about it. The girl also understands that the reason why the Duke locked the door is obvious, and they are waiting for the Eastern troops to come to their aid, but the girl wonders if they really thought she would wait so long. At this time, someone turns to Her Majesty and asks if the Duke will come out of his own free will. And the girl claims that those 3 will come into him if he doesn't come out and asks what the guy is worried about. After which she also tells him to tell his father to come to the Pagos Duchy, and since she came all the way there, it would be nice to meet him in person. The guy then says that having heard that Her Majesty is there, he has already set out on his journey, and his father will arrive in a few days, to which the girl agrees. After which he asks them if they should visit Duke Pagos in person, after which they enter the duchy. And the girl sitting on the chair claims that a little more and raising the white flag would be pointless. Well, she also asks what he is doing. The Duke asks for forgiveness, after which the young lady claims that he did not kneel. The man is only surprised by this, after which he kneels before Her Majesty and greets her. But the girl claims that he is not so happy about this, after which the man with a smile on his face tells Her Majesty that he is absolutely happy, and she drove the innocent about the duchy into a prick, so how can she behave so outrageously? The young lady claims that he has no shame at all for the war that was unleashed under her nose, and these are truly outrageous times. Well, the man says that it's obvious, and why should he ask the Duke of Pagosa for permission to resolve personal issues? The girl replies that it was a battle between Alkis and Hildel, and Pagos had no right to interfere. But he moved the army without permission, putting the empire in danger. The man then claims that Del Moy also intervened in this battle, so let him be judged fairly. The girl claims that Duke Del Moy asked her permission, and the peacock then asks how he could put the empire at risk. It is only for the sake of protecting the South from Eastern provocations that it is quite natural to ask Her Majesty for permission to do this. The girl understands that he lies like he breathes, and this guy has no shame or conscience. Duke Pagos is angry at this time but claims that Her Majesty does not seem to know, but since time immemorial the duchy has been the founding family of this empire and this also guarantees special treatment for them, so he is simply doing his duty as the ruler of the East and the will of Pagos is not something she has the right to interfere with. But after this, the girl only turns to the Duke and claims that seeing the insolence with which he speaks, she got the impression that he does not intend to live long. After which, she asks if he really wants to go into eternal sleep, and Haven points his sword at him. The young lady's brother at this time turns to his sister and says that he will put him into eternal sleep, but at the same moment her personal knight closes the guy's mouth, and her main character says that Janice is great. Duke Pagos at this time is shaking with fear, after which he completely tilts the egg and asks Her Majesty to pardon him. Well, the girl claims that she doesn't really want to, after which the man cries out that he has made a big mistake and asks to forgive him. The girl then rises from her seat and says, "Seltzer Pagosa," that she lowers the title given to their family to that of a count, and henceforth the Duchy of Pagos comes under the control of the imperial family. In return, she gives the Count of Pagos the lands of Saliv which were once occupied by the former emperor, and let him prepare to leave the castle, after which the man only cries out in despair. As they head further, Haven tells the lady that he doubts that Duke Pagos will forgive this. The girl claims that he will probably really look for opportunities for revenge, and Haven claims that it is better to tear this problem out by the roots, but the girl replies that if you do not answer, they will give the East a reason to rebel, and they do not know how the borderlands will behave. Therefore, at this point, it is better to first observe them, and the girl understands that now is the best moment to show that the crown has no bad intentions. To attract tens of 1,000 soldiers guarding the eastern border to the imperial army, it is necessary not to plunge their master into eternal sleep, but to mix him with dirt. While the girl was working on turning the Duchy of Pagos into territory controlled by the empress, Duke Delmoy arrived. The girl then greets the Duke and states that he must be tired after such a long journey, to which the man apologizes for not being able to meet her at the coronation ceremony and greet her properly. Roviel claims that the reason she invited him there is because the situation in the southeast has changed, and she has something to tell him. The man then tells Her Majesty to do as she sees fit. After all, Delmoy will fulfill her wishes. However, first he would like to ask her. The main character then asks about what, and Duke Delmoy asks what she thinks about keeping his boy close to her, which makes the young lady a little surprised, and Haven looks menacingly at the guy. The young lady also thinks what kind of unexpected luck this is, after which she finally understands that she shouldn't show how much she likes it, and asks if, when talking about his son, he really means Geppetto standing next to him, to which the man tells Her Majesty that everything is absolutely correct, but he is offering not because he is his son, but because he is a very talented child who is capable of helping Her Majesty. The girl understands that she knows, and the eloquence of the young Delmoy is a talent that she really needs. The boy's father at this time claims that they do not crave a position in the palace, and let the lady just take a closer look because his boy is so cute, and also she can just take him to herself. But if he does not attract her as a lover, then the guy can become an excellent assistant, and this child will be faithful to her for the rest of his life. After which he asks her to think about it. Roviel claims that she is not interested in lovers, but since he praises this guy so much, how can she refuse such an offer? And the girl with a smile on her face understands that she has a new employee. A little while later, the girl walks down the corridor and happily thinks that they have dealt with the East, and even received a new hostage, a worker from the South, because she will send him to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. After which the young lady thinks that this is why the previous emperor was on the road so often, but she got so much from just one trip. But when the young lady looks at the Duke, she sees that he is moving on and then turns to him, and the guy turns around and also responds to Her Majesty, after which the girl asks if something really happened, because he looks gloomy. Well, the guy just turns around and says that nothing, after which the girl thinks that I am clear, and it seems that something is happening. At this time, they go further down the corridor, and the girl hears someone screaming, "What a fool the guy is!" Well, the young man claims that he asked not to call him that, after which the main character sees that her brother has once again clashed with his personal knight, after which she tells Eddie not to quarrel with Janice. Well, the guy just says that she's asking for trouble, and the young lady claims that in her opinion it's the other way around and tells Janice to ignore it. After that, the girl sits down at her desk and asks if the guy has finished deploying the troops. The young man replies that yes, and he has decided to leave 5,000 soldiers. The main character then asks what happened to the commander, and he replies that the guy he took with him last time showed himself well, so he decided to leave the command to him. Roviel claims that since he brought him, he is confident in him, and she, the girl, also says that she is confident in them as well. As in James and Haven, her brother then asks if she found him. Hey, the girl asks if he wants to say that he didn't choose the new commander, after which he replies that he didn't. But it looks like they were lucky because he carries out his orders perfectly. At this time, the main character looks at the Duke and realizes that now his face looks as if he is thinking about something. But they could have talked about what was troubling him back in Pagosa Castle, but there was so much going on, and having decided that they were a replacement for the Duke, who had now become a count, the Eastern aristocrats constantly came to whine about their problems. Before they decide to betray, they need to take control of the Eastern troops and border guards, and the girl must disperse them so that the East cannot unite. And besides, she lowered taxes to calm the people and appointed a new tax collector, and also said that if he screwed up with them, he would lose his head. After which, the day came when everything calmed down and they returned to Philand. But a little while later, the Duke claims that he must go north. The main character wonders why he suddenly decided to do this, and whether something really happened, to which the guy answers Her Majesty that nothing. Well, the girl claims that it seemed to her that she had already said that she hated lies, after which the young man claims that he is not lying, and she definitely does not need to worry about this. There is just a troublesome matter waiting for her at home, and the girl is wondering if something bad has happened in the north. The guy claims that good or bad, it is not worth the young lady's attention. The girl then realizes that she is sure that Haven has many reasons for leaving. And he has been so strange lately, after which the girl thinks, is it so hard to talk about everything? The girl also understands that she needs to say just one word for him to go, but she still does not understand why she cannot decide. Although there is nothing wrong with not having Haven there, after which the young lady says that they will meet again in Philand, and the guy claims that he will try to return as soon as possible. The girl also says that he should not squeeze, because without him, she will have a lot of things to do. Well then, she realizes that she didn't try to get him back with work. The young man then just smiles and approaches her and whispers that such an aviator will return to her just as quickly. A little while later, the girl is already in the carriage and turns to her brother, and also claims that they say that people from the north came to the palace who were looking for Haven, and she asks if something serious happened. Her brother replies that he has no idea and does not remember anything happening at all. The girl claims that in her past life she was not an empress, and it is unlikely that their present future will correspond to the past, to which the young man agrees, but wonders if the Duke didn't tell her not to worry and that he has the right to visit his duchy, so let sister relax. The girl understands that Eddie and Janice are telling her not to worry, but she is worried because there is no one next to her, and the guy could tell her what happened if it didn't matter that much. Well, the young lady thinks that maybe the problems were just an excuse and he ran away because she was too strict. But Caleb and the other secretaries are paid. On the server, the Duke is a full-fledged person, which means he is not the poorest person, but still she thinks that a precious stone from some bird is not too small a reward for his labors. After which the girl thinks that it has been decided, and when he returns, it will be necessary to fix this and she will treat the guy better. And she decided to decide, but the groom still does not return. The secretary is worried at this time and turns to Her Majesty, and her brother is also worried about her. The girl understands that while she was in Pagosa, Caleb dealt with all the previously agreed-upon matters. Geppetto, appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs, adapted well, and the atmosphere in the ministry became good. The girl also thinks that everything is obviously going well, but she still doesn't understand why she feels uncomfortable. At this time, the secretary turns to Her Majesty, and her brother also asks his sister, what about going for a walk? The girl then asks if he is talking about going for a walk, and the young man claims that he just thinks that she needs to change her mood, after which she offers to go with him. But the girl says that it is not worth it, and she will walk alone. She also points to a crumpled piece of paper and claims that it needs to be rewritten, and also apologizes for adding extra work to the secretary, but he answers Her Majesty that everything is fine, after which he takes this piece of paper, although he still has a whole mountain of work. A little while later, the girl goes out into the garden, but all she remembers is how Haven addressed her, and also understands that she does not know his feelings. A little while later, the commander of the knights turns to Her Majesty and asks what brought her to her. Well, the girl is just wondering if there is any news from the north, because more than a month has passed since Haven went north, and there is still no news from him, so she asks if Cecile knows why the Duke hasn't returned yet. The blonde replies that she doesn't know, and doesn't Her Majesty know more about the Duke than she does, but the young lady claims that if she knew, she wouldn't have gone to her to ask Cecile, wonders if they had a fight and if they had a conflict outside of the work department. Roviel claims that this simply cannot be, and Haven said that he likes her, and also thinks that from their first meeting, he always treated her well. And besides, when Eddie went to war, the Duke consoled her and told her not to worry. After which, Cecile asks how Her Majesty responded to the Duke's feelings, after which she claims that she said thank you. The Knight Commander is then surprised and asks Her Majesty if it is possible that she does not like the Duke. The girl then asks what she means and claims that she has the best fiancé, but the blonde claims that she is not talking about her feelings for him as an employee. And the main character asks what she means, and she thinks that Haven is quite an interesting guy. The girl also understands that it is a little strange, but she likes everything about him. And also, it is enough to look at him to understand that he is very handsome, and especially his powerful body to which the face with snow-white skin best suits. The commander of the knights claims that, despite the fact that the Duke is objectively an attractive man, isn't he her type? After which the young lady thinks a little and also claims that if we rely on her taste, then the Duke is the best. And small and beautiful children like Eddie are perceived more as younger brothers than men. After which the blonde asks if she really only remembered the commander-in-chief, Duke de Hard, and she wonders what the lady thinks about Geppetto del Moy. After all, rumors began to spread around the palace that young Del Moy was in love with Her Majesty. The girl then said that if you think about it, Geppetto is quite handsome, and the blonde wonders if he is a bad candidate for a husband, but she can always take him as a lover. The girl then realizes that it's not that she didn't want to tie another useful person to herself in this way, but she prefers Haven as a husband, and she doesn't want having a lover to break his heart, after which the girl says that no, and Haven alone is enough as a companion. Well, the blonde says that she doesn't have to marry a man she doesn't even like. After which, the young lady is surprised and asks if she doesn't like Haven too, which the blonde replies that she did say that she rejected the Duke's feelings. And the main character asks when, but the girl replies that she said that she thanked him for his confession, to which the young lady replies that she thanked him but she didn't say no, after which the commander of the knights asserts to Her Majesty that saying thank you for a declaration of love doesn't look like a subtle demonstration of hostility. The main character then goes into shock, and the blonde claims that, judging by her reaction, she really didn't know, and if there is a misunderstanding with Duke de Hard, it will probably cause a lot of problems, and she thinks that she should report to her that there are guests in the Duke's palace now. The main character wonders who is there, and the commander of the knights claims that there is a guest from the kingdom of Gripton, or rather the royal princess. The main character is surprised by this. She understands that de Hard is located in the north of the Seven Hills and borders Gripton, and in their entire history they have never been at odds. What's surprising is that Gripton is a fan of provoking everyone and everything out of sheer boredom, and there is a possibility that they sent their princess as a guarantee of peace, and in other words, Haven had to go north to deal with border conflicts. But the girl thinks that it is somehow, after which the commander of the knights interrupts her thoughts and claims that it seems that Gripton's daughter has made an offer to Duke de Hard. And she can't know what the Duke answered, but one thing is certain, and the princess and her retinue have been living in the Duke's castle for a very long time. The young lady then understands what it means that her future husband, who could have wrongly decided that her feelings were rejected, received a proposal from another woman, and threw it away, after which the main character tells Cecile to get ready and the girl asks in surprise where, after which the young lady says that they are going to pick up her fiancé. A little while later, they are already heading in a carriage, and the young lady's brother turns to her and tells her to look at what wonderful weather it is. The girl tells the guy to sit still, but the young man claims that they haven't traveled together for a long time, and he is also in seventh heaven, and they have to eat something tasty. The girl then tells Eddie that she is not going to have fun, but the guy suggests playing a game of who will catch up with D-Hard first. And if he finds him first, he will tie him up and drag him to her. They will also definitely try traditional northern cuisine. The young lady then says that he is somehow planning to meet Haven incorrectly. Well, the young man asks if she wants him to put him to eternal sleep on the spot. The young lady then asks why, and the guy replies that the Duke met another woman and left his sister, so he deserves to be plunged into eternal sleep. The main character then says that the Duke did not cheat on her, and he claims that if he had cheated on her, she would have just had to end the marriage. Eddie says how sad it is, and his sister is too kind, to which the girl replies that it is not true. But be that as it may, Haven is not that kind of person, to which the guy replies that he knows. And the Duke is not deceiving her, because anyone who has seen how the Duke treats someone other than his sister, this will confirm the main character, then thinks what he means. And is it really Haven? That he was always polite and fair, behaves differently when she is not around. The young lady then claims that in the past she was in the north, and the guy asks if she was there before the rebirth, to which the girl replies that yes, and then she met Haven. It happened in the winter when she was 20 years old. The young man claims that he somehow found out where the girl was from and means that he knew her. Otherwise, she would have definitely found out how creepy he is, after which the young lady is a little surprised, and the guy only tells his sister not to worry because the Duke will never turn away from her. The main character then thinks how the guy can be sure of this in his past life. She was shivering from the unusual cold of the north, and Haven warmed her with warm tea. They said a few phrases to each other that were completely erased from her memory. And then he brought her everything she came for, and the girl understands that she just wants to thank him for everything, and she is afraid to punish him for breaking his promise to return quickly, after which she hopes that she will be forgiven for this again. A little while later, they find themselves in the north, and the young lady understands that they have entered the northern lands, and the wind has begun to change. But it is not even winter yet, and it is already so cold. A little while later, the young lady notices someone riding a horse near her tunic and addresses her. The main character looks at this guy and asks if this is Haven, after which she tells the carriage to stop. And then they come out of it. Haven turns to Her Majesty and extends his hand to her. But the young lady's brother at that very moment knocks the guy's hand away, after which he still takes out his sword and its scabbard, and he points it at the Duke. The girl is then a little surprised and asks what he is doing, and the Duke also wonders what this is all about. The young lady's personal bodyguard also grabs his sword. The guy wonders what they should do with the person who broke their sister's heart. The Duke then simply kneels down and takes a piece of the lady's cloak into his hands, after which he asks if he broke her heart. The girl then only turns to Heian, and she tells him to get up, but she thinks that this is so strange because just recently she even talked about breaking up the marriage, and now she is so happy that he meets her, after which the girl says that she came there to pick him up and offers to return. To which the guy agrees, and the young lady understands that this is precisely why the previous emperor. They fell in love with someone so much that they were ready to bring their own country into decline, and yet she almost spent half of the empire's fortune on him. But before that, the girl asks if he wants to introduce her to someone. The guy then asks who he can introduce to her, and the girl answers that the Princess of Gripton had proposed to him, and moreover information had reached her that she was living in his duchy. The guy then asks how she knows and claims that he rejected her offer, and also thinks that Her Majesty should not worry about nonsense that he can deal with himself. The girl then asks if he refused, and the guy replies that he did. And the young lady claims that, of course, because if he had answered her with consent, she would have brought the imperial army. At this time, Eddie claims that he recognizes his sister and also tells her to show them where the crayfish spend the winter. Well, the Duke at this time takes her hand in his and says that since the lady has come such a long way in order to visit his castle, then he will gladly show her the way, and the young lady realizes that he looks so excited that she cannot bring herself to say the real reason for her visit. A little while later, they are already riding in a carriage, and the guy claims that if he had known that she was so worried he would have finished work earlier and returned. The girl claims that she thought he had betrayed her and left for another woman. Well, the young man tells Her Majesty that this will never happen, and the girl replies that yes, otherwise there will be war. After which the girl sees the gloomy expression on the guy's face and tells him not to pretend that he is facing a dilemma. When the girl gets out of the carriage, the guy suddenly approaches her ear, and he claims that he wanted to see her so much. Well, the young lady claims that he is lying, and she doesn't remember that they saw each other before her arrival there, to which the guy replies that he really was going to leave tomorrow. Well, the young man claims that they even dug a hole under the mountain to bury the princess. When the girl arrives at the castle, she is greeted by Haven's uncle, whose name is Tridehard, and he claims that this is their first meeting, so he asks to let him introduce himself. The girl tells the sir to raise his head because he must be surprised by her sudden arrival, to which the man replies that no, and he thanks her for such a timely visit since he was already going to write her a letter, after which he also begs to take the Duke with him because he cannot name the reason for this request, but the Duke forbade him to worry Her Majesty. The girl then asks if this is really true and would still like to know the details. The man then asks to be allowed to simply report that the Duke nearly started a war to turn down Gripton's offer. The boy then tells his uncle that this makes Her Majesty worry. The girl then asks if he is talking about the war and claims that he is becoming more and more curious, after which he says that they should call Gripton's daughter, after which he obeys. The Duke asks if the girl really wants to talk to her now, but the young lady wonders if she is already buried under the mountain, to which the guy replies that no, and that she is still in the castle. The girl then thinks, what does it mean while they are still? Much time later, she is already sitting with her, and the lady with the blonde hair greets Her Majesty Empress Stan. The girl claims that she is the second daughter of Gripton, and her name is Lyona. The Empress then asks if they have come there to propose to her fiancé, and tells her to relax and tell it like it is. And also, not everyone will dare to propose to a man engaged to the Empress, after which she wonders whether it is for political gain or because of feelings for Haven. But the girl then asks if she is talking about her feelings for this idiot, and tells Her Highness that it's all in vain. And besides, only upon arriving there she learned of their engagement, and her father simply ordered her to marry the Duke, so she came to convince the Duke to accept her proposals, and they were only engaged. So how should this bother her? But the girl wonders if she wants to say what. She doesn't like Haven, after which the Duke's father thinks how strange she is, and the girl claims that the princess cannot rely on her feelings in such matters. And the young lady is interested in it, which means he's forcing his daughter to marry a man she doesn't have a drop of sympathy for, and it turns out the king isn't the best father. The lady with the blonde hair only gets angry after this, and also claims that she thinks the lady will not accept this as an excuse, and it would be great to carry out her father's will, but he is not the type to scold her for refusing, so she will soon just return home. Roviel asks if she is really coming back and spent 2 months there, but suddenly decided to leave, to which the girl asks what else she can do since she is already there, and besides, she was going to leave anyway, before she had the opportunity to find out the depth of the hole prepared for her. The young lady then wonders if she is really going to wait for her to leave and then suddenly return. And moreover, if she understood that because of her engagement with Haven, she had no chance, she should have returned home as soon as she arrived in the duchy. Gripton and Dehard are not exactly friendly neighbors, and it is strange that they suddenly proposed a marriage union, and if they needed a union with the Seven Hills, they would have come to her. Hey. The girl wonders if she is too fixated on the fact that Haven received an offer and is missing something. The princess at this time asks if she can leave them to prepare for her departure home and before they decide to deal with her for proposing to her fiancé, but the girl then tells the princess to sit down, and also wonders what the situation was like on the border, to which the Duke replies that surprisingly everything is calm, and the girl asks what about the Gripton troops and whether the numbers match. The guy replies that many soldiers have gone missing. And the girl wonders where they went, after which everyone tenses up, and the princess jumps up from her seat, and she cries out, "Do they really want to accuse them of something?" But she is there on her father's orders and not in order to start a war. The empress claims that she doesn't think his father is that crazy, but then she realizes that she is definitely there for the marriage, and her goal is to distract them. After 4 years, Gripton and Zilton would have attacked the Seven Hills if she had not taken the throne and paid Zilton. Their empire's debt to Zilton was 32,000 gold, and this debt would continue to grow, and also naturally that in the past, Zilton was not going to tolerate such things, and having united with Gripton attacked the Seven Hills. But this time everything is different, and the debt is fully paid, and the union of these two empires is stronger than ever, so the unification of Zilton and Gripton is unlikely at the moment, and if Gripton does not increase his military power, then attacking their empire is pointless. And now the troops have suddenly disappeared, after which the girl claims that they missed it. And also Gripton intends to occupy Ilione in the northeast. The princess, after this, only keeps silent about the girl, understands that to start with Ilione near Gripton and also to add the kingdom of Tudrum, and then even the united Seven Hills with Zilton Gripton are not opponents. After which the young lady says that they should immediately check Ilione and Tudrum, and the duke states that they are going there right away. The princess at this time states that if this is all, she would like to leave. Well, the main character asks, what if she doesn't let her leave? And the princess asks if she wants to say that she will let her marry the duke, to which the girl replies that not at all. And the lady with the blonde hair says that in that case, is she really taking her hostage? The young lady then claims that she never even thought of such a thing and invites the princess as a guest. She also understands that until she unravels Gripton's plans, the princess has diplomatic value. But the lady with the blonde hair claims that she would rather fall into eternal sleep than disturb Gripton and her father. And it would be nice if she could take a companion with her on the road. The duke at this point cannot stand all this and takes his sword out of its sheath. The main character turns to him with concern, but the guy at this time only puts his sword to the princess's throat, and he looks at her menacingly. Roviel tells him to lower his sword, and what about the princess? There won't be any fellow traveler, so let her get out of her country right now. After which, the princess in this case asks permission to deviate. A little while later, they are already sitting at the table, and the duke claims that the princess insulted her. And also, they shouldn't have let her go so easily because it would be better to bury her under the mountain. But the main character says that Haven should calm down because they have no evidence that they intend to put her into eternal sleep, and it would be better to plant a tree in that hole. And besides, if something happens to the princess, a war with Gripton will immediately begin. Well, the guy claims that this war is inevitable anyway, so they better deal with Gripton before he takes over Ilione. The girl says that the duke is right, and one day they will attack their empire, but attacking first is not the same as reacting to an invasion. The girl also asks what their neighbors will think if they attack first. And she understands that there is a rigid power structure on their continent, and if the balance in one place is disturbed, then chaos will begin, and they cannot allow this. So first, they need to find out what Gripton is doing. A little while later, the young lady's brother enters her room and addresses her. He also claims that the princess of Gripton has escaped and wonders if he should catch up with the girl. But the main character claims that she was the one who kicked her out. The young lady's brother says that the duke has been diligently digging her grave on Mount Mitras. Roviel says that they will not bury anyone. And the guy says that he thinks that in the case of jealousy, it is excusable to get rid of annoying people. Roviel says that for the empress, this is an unaffordable luxury. And the guy at this time turns to his sister and asks if he denies that he is jealous, and that he is really jealous of Gripton's daughter. The girl answers that she does not know whether it is jealousy or not. After all, she just wants to monopolize Haven. The guy is only embarrassed by this, and the young lady claims that the duke is her man and no one has the right to take him away from her. She also understands that when someone wants to kidnap her, obedient, understanding, always helpful fiancé, how can she silently watch this? At this time, the duke asks, embarrassed, if she is talking about wanting to monopolize him. And the girl asks what the matter is because he was the first to say something like that, and the young man says that it is true. But the girl wonders why she has such a face. The guy then says that he will fix it, and then the girl suggests starting the meeting. She also states that she would like to contact Ilona and Todrum before Gripton attacks them, and wonders if she has any contact with the Seven Hills. The Knight Commander answers Her Majesty that no, and they only observe their movements, and also they rarely interact with the Seven Hills. After which the young lady asks if Gripton can contact both of them. The blonde replies that they do indeed have an informant near the border. And the girl understands that, of course, Cecile will not be able to cope with this task alone. And when she returns to Finland, she will ask Geppetto to create an external surveillance department. And also, if she knows what is happening on the border, she will be able to say with certainty where the Griptonians are heading. As for Gripton's neighbors, there is only Ilona. At this time, the Duke's uncle addresses Her Majesty and asks if she really thinks that Gripton is going to attack Ilion, but the girl replies that if not to invade Ilion, then why else would they bother themselves in such a way? But the man then wonders why it is so difficult to capture them. They can capture Ilione at any time. He also claims that Gripton has always coveted the fertile lands of the Seven Hills, and from this side Ilona is of little use, but the girl claims that the duchy does not allow them to invade the empire, and asks if he thinks that they could have found another way, after which the uncle claims that he says this because they do not like to waste resources on the post, and the probability that they found a bypass route to invade the Seven Hills is really high. The girl claims that she will think about it, and no one can know Gripton better than Duke de Hard, after which she tells the Knight Commander to carefully monitor Gripton's movements and send people to Zilton. After all, he could become Gripton's target, and they must warn them, after which the blonde tells Her Majesty that she understood. But I wonder if she thinks that this is too much, even for Gripton. And also, how is it known from her that an attack on Zilton is unlikely? The girl understands that the Seven Hills fell because of the stupidity of the previous emperor, but that was in the past. And while she is the empress, this empire will not be an easy opponent for anyone. Now, if someone decides that Zilton is weak, it will be a fatal mistake for the attackers, and even if their military might leaves much to be desired, their gold reserves easily compensate for this shortcoming. In essence, war is a struggle for resources, and Zilton only needs to spend money and hold out until their ally deploys an army, and then even Gripton won't be able to fight two opponents at the same time, and they should understand this. Eddie at this time turns to his sister and tells her not to try to apply common sense to the Griptonians, and she knows that they are all war dogs. He also says that the girls should simply imagine an army of Havens in their place. The main character then thinks about what Haven would do, after which the girl turns to Cecile and tells her to immediately send someone to Zilton, because she wants to know how much money they have at their disposal. And besides, it is necessary to find out whether each noble family has enough amuntia, after which the girl obeys and states that she will immediately start preparing. And the young lady also turns to her brother and tells him to make sure that his troops are ready to march at any time. The Duke's uncle at this time claims that they will once again check the northern border and the adjacent territory, and Her Majesty should also hurry to return to Finland because if it comes to war, then it will definitely start there, and in the north it will become too dangerous for it. And if Her Majesty gets involved in the war, the Duke interrupts his uncle at this point and says that he is right. It is dangerous there, so she should go back. But the main character asks what he is talking about, and if it becomes dangerous in the north, she will have to leave Finland and hurry there. Well, the guy says that Her Majesty should not think of it because it cannot be avoided. But the girl tells him to think for himself because if Gripton had attacked and he and Eddie had fought there, it would be dangerous for her to be anywhere without you by her side. And in any case, she asks, isn't being next to him the safest place in the world? After which the guy is a little surprised but says that he will definitely crush them all. The young lady looking at the Duke is even a little surprised, and the girl understands that if she stays there, then their combat power will definitely increase, but in that case she claims that she will monitor the situation from there until they figure out the movements of Gripton's troops, and the meeting is over. After the rest of the people leave, the Duke extends his hand to the young lady, and he says that he will take her to the prepared chambers and take her to a room for the duration of her stay in De Hard. He also claims that it is too small and was certainly prepared in a hurry. The main character at this time watches the Duke and remembers how the lady with blonde hair spoke. What if I say thank you for a declaration of love? Doesn't that sound like a subtle demonstration of dislike? And the girl understands that she was so busy with other things that she almost forgot, and first she needs to clarify this misunderstanding. Then the main character tells her bodyguard that she has something to talk about and tells her to leave them alone for a while and not let anyone in. After which the bodyguard agrees and leaves the room, and the young lady then turns to Haven. And the guy responds, after which he apologizes to Her Majesty and claims that he should have sorted things out much earlier and returned to her as soon as possible. But the girl tells him to forget because she wants to talk about something else, after which the young lady comes closer to him, and she says that when she thanked him for his confession, she did not reject him then. And she doesn't plan to marry anyone except him, which makes the guy embarrassed. And he says that it can't be. The girl then asks why not, and she is telling the pure truth. But the guy says that it is impossible. The girl understands that there is a misunderstanding between them, and she openly pointed at him but thinks why he doesn't want to accept it, after which she extends her hand to the guy's face, and also claims that their feelings are mutual, and she is sure of it. The Duke claims that if Her Majesty really loves him as much as he loves her, then she must be thinking about the same thing as he is, and hoping for the same thing as he is, after which the girl replies that this is true. And the guy kisses her hand and then her lips. The main character moving away from the kiss thinks that. So that's what he meant. And by the way, she doesn't understand why he's so excited after such a passionate kiss. After which, the girl sighs and grabs the guy and brings him closer to her, kissing him. The young man is only embarrassed and surprised by this, but he grabs the edge of the bed, after which the girl hears some kind of cracking sound. And he thinks what kind of sound it was, but when he looks next to him, he sees that it is the very edge of the bed, after which she turns to His Majesty, but he claims that the lady has no idea. How long has he waited for this moment? The girl replies that yes, and now she understands her feelings well. So let him unclench his hand, but the guy only claims that he will never let him go, after which the girl says that it's not that hand but the other one because that way he'll break the column. And the guy looking at his hand is surprised, and the young lady wonders if he just noticed it now. The Duke also claims that he will take her to another room, and the young lady tells him not to worry about it. He also says that it is dangerous there, but the girl claims that as long as he doesn't touch anything, then everything is absolutely safe. But then the girl also hears some noise and looks outside, after which she sees her brother, who screams for the sister to just look at this girl because she forbids him to enter. The blonde claims that Her Majesty ordered not to let anyone in, but the guy claims that he is not the only brother, and Janice says that she is Her Majesty's personal guard. Well, the guy cries out, hasn't she heard about compliance and thinks that it's time to acquire it? The girl then asks the two if they want to stop, and also says that it's time for Eddie to get along with Janice. After all, he brought her so that the girl would protect her, but the guy claims that she started the fight, and the blonde says that he was the first to provoke. The young lady then tells Janice that Eddie is the only person who can be allowed to see her at any time, and let her remember this, to which the girl replies that she obeys. And the young lady understands that they say that children become friends during a quarrel, but with these things it's different. The guy at this time tells his sister that he will switch off for a while. And there is a medicine nearby that he could not find, and while he is here he asks to let him get it for her. The girl then asks if there is any medicine left that she has not tried, and the guy replies that there is plenty. After which the young lady asks how far it is from there, to which the guy replies that it is very close. And the girl says that, then, okay, and he will take Janice with him. The girl then screams to Her Highness, and the guy also wonders why he should go with her. The blonde also claims that as a bodyguard she cannot leave her, but the main character claims that this is an order. And also, let them take this opportunity to get along with each other. As the two leave, the Duke turns to the young lady and says that if she is ready, he will take her to the dining hall. Roviel thinks he looks happy. Then they also enter the dining room, and the girl sees all the family members standing with puzzled faces. At this time, someone pulls out a chair for the empress and states that the dish of the day is stewed venison, and this is a traditional dish in the northern regions. And he also doesn't know if she'll like it. The girl claims that she's looking forward to trying everything, and she herself understands that both parents are black-haired. He's not, and many say that he's not from the Dehard family. The girl also thinks how long she has been waiting for this opportunity, and then tells them to sit down and understands that the opportunity has finally arrived to interrogate them, after which the whole family begins to eat, and the Duke watches his bride with a smile on his face. The Duke's uncle is sitting there as if at a funeral, and the girl is putting down the cutlery. And she claims that she was informed that he is managing the duchy instead of Haven, and is interested in whether there were any difficulties. The man replies that it is true, and he thanks Her Majesty for her concern but claims that no difficulties arose. After which the girl asks if this is true, and claims that she heard that he wants to become a full-fledged duke instead of Haven. The young lady also understands that even though Haven said that there was no need for this, she had long dreamed of raising this topic at a meeting with the Dehards. Well, their reaction surprised her a little, and the girl says that this is how it is, and also those are present there, who opposed Haven becoming Duke Uncle, claims that there was a time when they wrongly believed as if his nephew does not want to be a duke, but he tells Her Majesty that all this is in the past. The girl then asks if this is so and claims that it seems like it was a big misunderstanding, to which the man replies that it is true, and the fact is that in his youth the guy was afraid to go out into society. The young lady then remembers the Duke and asks if he was afraid to, which the man replies that he was, and the girl wonders if they are talking about the same person now. The guy's uncle claims that he knows that it is hard to believe, but until his 16th birthday, his nephew was a very cowardly and weak child. The main character is a little surprised by this, after which she turns to the Duke, and he asks if he was cowardly, to which the guy replies that it was a long time ago. He also asks his uncle if this is true, to which he replies that of course, and the guy is the only Duke of Dehard no matter what anyone says. The main character understands that she waited so long for this interrogation and everything ended so absurdly, and a little while later, she asks if the boy was really a cowardly and weak child. The Duke replies that it was like that in childhood, and the girl says that in that case, can a person's personality change so dramatically? After which, the guy says that he still remains cowardly and weak. Well, the girl says that the fact that she loves him does not mean that she will believe in anything. However, the young man takes her hand in his and claims that he is not lying and is afraid every second that she will turn away from him, but the guy also says that no matter what she thinks of him, he will always love her and there must come a day when she will find him annoying. The girl replies that this is not true, and he is far from being annoying, after which she asks if he does not see how she loves her brother, although he behaves rather stupidly. After which the guy says that, yes, compared to Earl Seaton, but then the Duke just starts laughing. And the main character watches this with a smile on her face. She understands that she has no experience in relationships, and instead of being clear to others, or she prefers to look into the hearts of those she loves and feels much more comfortable. Dive headlong into work, and last time there was no one to feel sorry for her, and in the end, she met her immersion into eternal sleep alone, so now, if someone loves her despite her flaws, she will do everything to love him back. The girl also understands that Edwin is her precious brother and follows her, and so is Artem, who so lacked this, and the man who always smiles when looking at her is Haven, who will become her husband. After which the girl realizes that she is ready to give Haven half of the goat, and he is still not sure of her feelings. But she didn't do anything special for Haven, after which the girl asks why he likes her, and the guy claims that he fell in love with her at first sight, and the main character thinks, how could this happen? And they met on that day when she looked like a walking corpse from overwork, and she wonders how the shady and timid Haven was able to change his uncle's mood. The guy only smiles after this and claims that he gave him the severed head of Commander Gripton. Then the girl realizes it's time to change the subject for the second time and screams what he's talking about and how he even pulled it off. The guy then starts his story, but the girl says she doesn't want to know, and the young man claims that he simply calmly crossed the border and then returned. The girl understands that even Eddie has not stormed an enemy camp alone at the age of 16 in 2 lives, and she thought that she could no longer be surprised by any crazy antics. But it turned out that she needed a rope, and a very strong one, to tie up these psychos. At this time, the young lady's brother says that his ears are itching and asks how the girl thinks and whether her little sister remembers him. But the blonde only tells the guy not to chatter but to look for a cure for Her Majesty. At that moment, the young man senses some kind of danger and grabs the knight by the clothes, after which he pushes them aside. The girl is a little surprised and, looking at this monster, asks if this is really the same one. The young man replies that yes, and the intestines of the bacillus are very useful for preventing lung diseases, and they are found only there. The girl also sees some strange liquid spreading across the floor and wonders if it is dangerous. To which the guy replies that yes, and they must be extremely careful that his toxic blood and saliva do not touch them. The blonde closes her eyes at this time and thinks that this is medicine for Her Majesty. After which he opens them with determination and attacks this monster together with the young lady's brother. Janice Skyer is quite lazy and dreams of a quiet, carefree life in order to explain the reason why she is ready to fight a bald monster that scares her to the point of trembling in order to get medicine for the empress. We'll have to turn back time a little. A little while ago, a girl who dreamed of a carefree life. One day she pulled out the wrong stick and everyone then screamed congratulating her and also affirming that Miss Janice was now the heir to the Duchy of Skyer. Her brother and sister thanked the girl, and they said that thanks to her they could now relax and the girl became an heiress when she was only 9 years old. On the day she turned 18, the girl ran away from home. The girl understood that the inspection of the territory, fencing administration, and culture were all in the past now, but she wondered if she could find an easy job with a high salary. After which someone turned to her and asked if she was Janine Skyer and if she had run away from home. The girl then wondered who it was, and the guy remembered how his sister told him to be a good boy. And he asked if she was on the run. And that's great. But when the guy wanted to say something else, the girl just told him to get lost. After which she went further, and the guy thought what she said, but his inner angel in the form of his sister told him to solve everything through dialogue, and the guy understood that it was right, because he needed to be patient, after which he once again turned to the girl and offered to talk to her peacefully. He also asked if she wanted to become his sister's bodyguard, and they would provide food, a home, and pay decently. But the girl only said that if he didn't leave her alone right now, she would knock him out, after which the guy said that then the Duchess and co. would catch her, and if she became her personal knight as a sister, then even the Duchess wouldn't get to her. The girl then stopped and turned to the guy, and then asked who his sister was, to which he replied that his sister is the empress of this country, or the girl thought whether it was true. After which I saw that the guy had pink hair, green eyes, and looked like he was 20 years old. And she also thought that, of course, no one would be able to reckon with her if she became the empress's personal knight. And then the girl agreed, and the guy said that it was good. The girl met the empress after going through many trials. But unlike her brother, she rarely spoke and was always busy with work. When the secretary addressed Her Majesty and stated that it was time for dinner, she stated that the train was after examining this report. Well, the Duke just took her in his arms and insisted that it was not good to starve yourself. The young lady then asked who was starving whom, and she said that she would eat later. The girl then understood that becoming the Empress's bodyguard meant that she almost never left her desk. It's like winning the lottery and no one complains, even if Janice looks at the sky. All day long, the girl even put a small, soft sofa in front of the window to fully enjoy this quiet, paid life. The girl wondered if she would be able to live like this until old age, and then Her Majesty would have to live a long, long time. But if she got overtired, who would fall into eternal sleep first? She recently ate a poisoned pie, but is still careless when it comes to food, after which the girl thinks that Her Majesty will remain her boss even when she is over 90. The baby also thinks that Her Majesty lives so recklessly that both the boy and the northern beast have gone crazy from it. So it's Janice's turn to go crazy with them, even if it means catching a four-legged snake, whose whole body is poisonous. Therefore now the girl only repeats in her head that this is medicine for Her Majesty. The young lady's brother tells her not to damage this monster's organs. A little while later, the main character is already watching as these two bring her medicine. And the girl asks why there are 2 cups, to which her brother replies that the second one is for Haven. But the guy claims that he will refuse such an honor, after which Eddie says that it is very useful and very tasty, but they tried so hard to find the second monster, after which they also scream for the guy to drink, and he screams and also tries to break free. The main character at this time understands that she thought to tie them with a harness, but peace and quiet came by itself. At the same moment, the blonde runs into the room and screams to Her Majesty that Gripton has captured Zilton, after which the main character comes into shock and asks if they really attacked not them, but Zelton. The commander of the Knights tells Her Majesty of the state absolutely correctly, and a month ago, Zilton sent a letter asking for help, but Gripton intercepted it halfway, which is why they only now learn about the capture. The young lady then wonders if this means that the princess really came there solely as a distraction. But having captured the terribly rich Gripton, the next goal is their empire, after which the young lady screams that they needed to return to Finland right now and also hold a meeting of the nobility as soon as possible. The girl understands that before Dahard alone was enough to stop Gripton, but the capture of Zilton changes everything as well as their fierce neighbor who called himself an empire after the capture of Zilton. Now their empire surpasses them both in area and population, and in order not to lose, they had to prepare a lot. A little while later, the knight's commanders enter the room and address Her Majesty, to which he replies that yes and thanks her for her work, after which the blonde runs away from there and realizes that she finally has her first rest in a week. The Empress understands that she first ordered to find out with which nobles Zilton and Gripton interacted, and understands that what they need now is internal unanimity. Despite the weakness, Zilton's military power remained at the level, and the reason why Zilton was so easily conquered must be due to internal conflicts. The 7 hills in this house will definitely be divided into 2 camps. It is the conservatives who prefer to just watch, and the advocates of decisive measures who will want to attack Zilton first while he is still weak. The thing is that many of them did not come to her coronation ceremony, and then the girl thinks how many nobles will follow her. It is this uncertainty that prevents them from initiating a direct war. And the young lady thinks that, of course, there are nobles who were once against her and now support her, but this is a special case. At this time, the Duke turns to Her Majesty and asks if she has a headache. The girl then replies that no, and it is nothing. But her brother immediately cries out, "Is she really sick?" And the bodyguard also asks if everything is okay with Her Majesty. Eddie cries out in concern, "Is this really because of Gripton? But if this is so, then let the girl allow him to plunge them all into eternal sleep." The girl then tells her brother not to be so reckless and to give her some time. She also understands that it's not that she doesn't understand how these kids feel, and especially her brother, who is used to doing crazy things for her. The guy then says that he will do as his sister says so that she doesn't get sick, to which the girl replies that she isn't sick and plans to live with him for a long time. But at that very moment, someone bursts into the room and shouts to Her Majesty that this crazy old man from Gripton has proposed to her. But at that very moment, the guy sees how everyone is looking at him angrily, and the young lady asks what he is talking about. A little while later, Eddie laughs, and so does the personal knight and the Duke, too. The girl tells them to calm down and understands that these 3 look like psychos. The reason for this is a letter from Emperor Gripton. The girl looked at the piece of paper and asked if he was really that stupid. And she understood that in a nutshell, it was stated there that if she gave her empire as a dowry, then he would not attack her. After which the girl turned to the Duke, but when he turned to her in response, the girl was a little surprised. And the guy only claimed that tonight he would cut down this Emperor Gripton. Her brother then told the guy to get in line because this idiot is his. The main character only told them to calm down both and asked her personal knight to calm them down. But she just started waving her sword, and the young lady looked in that direction and thought, "Did she just cut the letter?" After which the young lady said that everything was fine, she had already thought of everything, and her talent is enough to save the empire. But the Duke cried out, "Does she really want to waste time on something so insignificant?" There is nothing to talk about there. The girl replied that as an empress, she is obliged to consider all possible solutions to this problem. But her personal knight claimed that there were no other solutions, and her brother claimed that it was right for his sister not to think about anything. Haven asked if she was really ready to get married to save the country, and didn't understand at all that she was essentially selling herself. After which the young lady told the Duke that no, he had misunderstood everything because she would not be there to get married. Because of this, after which the guy sighed and also claimed that he now understands why did Count Satan yield the throne to her, and why did he insist on the unification of the continent. But at first he thought that her brother just wanted to reward her with something good. And also, if she had only chosen to be a despotic empress, maybe she wouldn't have called him and the Count crazy so often. The girl then thinks, does she really have to be despotic for them to be normal? At this time, the Duke wonders what she was thinking about, and also let the lady just not tell him that she decided to agree to the love letter. The Empress replies that she was thinking about why Gripton sent her a love letter and he can't really want to marry her. The Duke then wonders if this is not a veiled request to spare him the torments of old age by cutting off his head. Or maybe he just wanted to see the lady's reaction. It could also be a ploy to buy time and restore order in the hastily captured Zilton. The girl claims that this option cannot be ruled out since the war-obsessed country captured the commercial Zilton, with which it had never had any dealings. The girl also thinks that thanks to this, she has time to visit the nobles. And the reason why in this urgent situation she gathered them all is because that they had recently discovered a royal spy from Zilton, and she had already ordered a check of the registration of all nobles, and also tomorrow they will look at their moods. The Duke asks the ladies not to worry too much. After all now, the Empire is acting more openly, and they won't have to unravel their dark plans. The Empress wonders if he really wants to say that. Because they have become bigger, they are now easy prey for them too, which the guy replies that there is nothing wrong with that, but these two empires are different. After all, Gripton always knew that he would not be able to win the hearts of the inhabitants of their empire. The main character then asks if this is really true, and why he thinks so. But the guy replies that it's obvious and they have a magnificent empress, so how can the people of this empire exchange her for the terrible Gripton? The girl replies that she appreciates his praise, but she needs a more compelling reason. And the guy wonders if it wasn't under her leadership that the 7 hills were transformed in just 6 months, and what could be more convincing? The girl at this time thinks that he is blinded by love and claims that he did not convince her. The young lady also thought so, but a little while later, one of the aristocrats cried out, "Is the Empress really going to let this idiot get away with everything?" Another duke asked how much disrespect one must have for their empire to dare to do something like that. After which they all said that this idiot should be put into eternal sleep, and that the cabbage rolls should be punished for showing disrespect to her. The Empress was a little surprised after this and realized that she did not expect this. And I also thought that only the North would support her, but what happened to the neutral Skyer? And the pacifist Delmoy, the girl, also thinks that she is supported but not by everyone, and he thinks that it's time to move on to the second part, after which he says that, as they all know, Gripton sent a letter, and it was a letter of marriage with an offer to voluntarily give up 7 hills and avoid invasion of their lands. That's why she wants to hear their opinion and has organized this meeting. One of the nobles speaks to Her Majesty. What happens if the 7 hills accept this offer and Gripton still attacks them? The girl replies that it is possible, but this is a chance to avoid war, after which one of them states that if so, then the central nobility would like to express its will, and they rise up and cry out that they do not need another emperor except Her Majesty. The girl wonders if they really want to see only her on the throne and understands that these people were against her when she took the throne, but now one of them claims that if the throne belonged to the past emperor, he would have accepted Gripton's offer without hesitation, but they had already spoken to Her Majesty, that they see how the empire has changed thanks to her and everything will collapse if they accept Gripton's offer, and they also dedicated their lives to Her Majesty and will not bow before Gripton. The girl at this time thinks about all this and is silent for a while, after which she thinks that this is how it happens, and she understands that it turns out that she managed to become the Empress. The young lady smiles and says that if everyone agrees, what about the new ruler of the East, and she wonders what Count de Lacnoir thinks. The man replies that the eastern region is in great turmoil, and now the East does not need chaos but a favorable situation. The young lady then thinks that of course not so long ago she deprived the East of Duke Pagos, and as the successor of the Duke who didn't even bother to show up at today's meeting, he openly complains to her, and then the girl thinks how to convince the East. However, the man at this time asserts that Gripton's proposal goes beyond all bounds and being the second hill of the empire. The East will also fight for the empire, which surprises the girl, and she understands that the country was founded by 7 families, each of which lived on its own hill was called 7 Hills. However, the meaning of this union has long faded, and instead of working together, the emperors and nobles competed with each other for power. That's why she refused the help of the pagos. Considering that they call themselves the second hill in such a situation, and being a member of the alliance, they would not be able to ignore the newest threat. Well, the girl also thinks that whatever the reason, she is glad that everything is going easier than she expected, and all the nobility has already gathered their strength. After which the girl thinks that it seems she underestimated the patriotism of the nobility, and it is stronger than she thought.